Wherever you are, settle the body. Allow your shoulders to melt away from your ears, your jaw to loosen its little grip, your eyes to grow soft in their sockets, as if curtains are closing themselves around a long, patient play. In this room, on this night, you are invited to listen to a story about time that moves not with a metronome, but with a quiet, revolving grace. You are invited to let your breath synchronize with a cosmic rhythm that has been there since the first cloud of gas began to sigh and swirl. In your own sleep-welcoming space, you are about to learn how a galaxy keeps time by spinning, by tilting, by spreading a patient, cosmic pulse across the night. The angular dream does not hurry. It dwells in the space between seconds and centuries, in the space between heartbeats and the slow procession of light traveling through vacuum. Before we speak of clocks, we will speak of cradle sounds, the little tremors of gas and dust that first whispered together into something more than a cloud. Do you hear them, perhaps as a distant, muffled rustle beyond your pillow? Think of a great cloud of hydrogen and helium, a nursery where nothing yet glowed, only the potential of light and motion. As gravity gathered the cloud, it began to spin, a soft, invisible toy on a quiet string. This is the seed of the galaxy, a swirl of matter that learns to keep time by turning, by settling into a disk that reads its own night with a steady, patient ink. To understand this dream, we must first let the mind cradle a fact or two as gently as a sleeping child cradles a blanket. The first truth arrives with the hush. Angular momentum, the measure of how much something wants to keep spinning, is conserved. When a cloud of gas collapses inward under gravity, its rotation is not lost. It is squeezed into a tighter, faster spin. The longer the cloud contracts, the more it must spin to conserve that momentum, like a figure skater pulling in her arms to glide more swiftly across the ice. And so the galaxy forms a flattened disk, a broad, luminous plate that glides through space with a quiet dignity. The gas moves in circles around a gently bright center, each orbit a tiny, patient metronome in a grand orchestra we can almost hear if we lean close enough to the night. Drift with this image for a moment. A vast circle, a whisper of motion, a world that settles into a slow, celestial dance. As you listen, another thread of the dream comes into focus. The second truth sits nearby, a steady whisper. The rotation of galaxies tends to seem flat even far from the center, because there is more mass in the outer regions than one might expect, and there is unseen weight, the ghostly presence of dark matter that keeps the outer stars moving as fast as the inner ones. The sensation is as if the universe has laid a soft, invisible hand on the edge of the disk, guiding its outer parts with a patient, generous pull. You may not see this hand, but your senses can feel the reach of it, like a tide that never truly stops, a current that holds the periphery up as the center glows with its own quiet light. The fact lives here, a gentle star-stew truth. Rotation curves, the graphs that tell us how fast stars orbit at different distances, often stay unexpectedly steady, implying that darkness holds a large, quiet audience in the performance. The galaxy keeps time not just by its own puff of luminous matter, but by a surrounding halo of invisible mass that holds to the tempo with a soft, unyielding fidelity. How does this affect you, asleep or nearly so, while you listen to the slow heartbeat of the cosmos? It means that the clock isn't a single bright hand on a wall. It's a chorus of motions, a spectrum of rotations that blend into a common tempo. The third truth arrives like a lullaby. Angular momentum is not all in the bright disk we see. It is shared with a vast, unseen halo, a gravitational halo that cradles the disk and helps the entire galaxy maintain its spin. The disk holds the stars, gas, and dust in delicate, shimmering curves, but the halo, the quiet, invisible dancer, holds the rest, the long tail of momentum that drifts outward and outward, ensuring the song of rotation never slips into silence. This is not a simple duet. It is a chorus, a harmony between light and gravity across space, between what we can observe and what our instruments hum to when we listen with patient ears. And yet the night is not merely a private lullaby of a single disc. The cosmos, in its ever-unfolding theater, performs with grace through encounters and tales of collisions and mergers. The fifth truth drifts in like a tide. Galaxies exchange angular momentum through gravitational interactions, especially when they draw near each other and tug at one another's shapes. In such dances, the outer parts can gain or lose spin, and tails of stars can be drawn out into long spirals, like wisps of cloud fingers stretching toward a neighbor's warm glow. When galaxies approach and twist, they share their rhythms with one another, and the memory of those moments lingers in the halos for eons, long after the dancers have separated. The clock, thus, is a social clock as well as a solitary one. The neighborhood influences the tempo, and your own sleep's rhythm can shift subtly with the world outside. A breeze through a tree, the distant hum of a city, the faint drift of a music box carried on a corridor of night. You may wonder how much of this you should carry with you as you drift towards sleep. The sixth truth, the simplest and most comforting perhaps, is that the idea of a galaxy's spin can be captured by a gentle, dimensionless measure, a slow, unassuming number that scientists call a spin parameter. It's not a harsh score. Think of it as a quiet ratio, a way to compare how much rotation a galaxy has relative to its energy and mass. Most galaxies sit in a familiar lull, a comfortable range that says, in effect, we spin at a rate that feels like a natural breath, not too fast, not too slow, but just enough to keep the stars in their careful, celestial rhythm. The exact value doesn't shout, it whispers, and it hums through the disk and the halo alike, a shared heartbeat that suggests a unity across vast scales. If you let this concept settle around you, you may feel as though your own body's quiet respiration aligns with a cosmic appetite for balance, an invitation to breathe in along a galactic tempo and breathe out with a sense of belonging to something larger and stillness-bearing. And what is the purpose of keeping time in this way, you might ask, as you exhale and allow your thoughts to grow softer? What do galaxies keep time for beyond themselves? The answer is not a single, bright motive, but a bundle of gentle reasons that come together like a cluster of little stars arranged into a larger picture. First, the spinning helps organize the gas that will form future stars. The disk's circular motion, like a patient musical turntable, fosters regions where gas can settle, cool, and condense into dense pockets where stars can ignite. The second purpose is structural. The angular momentum sets the shape, a disk that looks as if it has been laid down with care, a thin, elegant sheet that catches the light of its spiral arms and burns with quiet life. A third reason is resilience. Having a halo to hold the outer material makes the galaxy less prone to falling apart should a neighbor glance its way too closely. And a fourth reason is time itself. The rotation provides a rhythm that can be measured across millions and billions of years, letting astronomers infer history, just as your breath leaves a trail of quiet evidence in your wake when you exhale in the stillness of a room after a long day. We drift now into a series of small, intimate scenes, like mini-stories tucked into the folds of this night. Picture a newborn galaxy in a pale cradle of gas, pockets of neonish dust glowing faintly as matter begins to swirl. In its earliest days, the cloud is not just spinning. It is listening to the gravity around it, to the gentle pull of neighbor clouds whose soft whispers travel across the void. The cloud's own gravity gathers the material into a disk, and as it does, the spiral begins to form, a delicate threadwork of arms that cradle newborn stars in their quiet arms. We do not rush this scene, we let it linger so you can notice how the gas settles, how the gravity tucks a certain order into chaos, how the light of the earliest stars glances off the dust like a drop of morning dew on a spun glass. It is not a hurried birth. It is a patient, contemplative arrival, a gentle proof that time, when given space, can craft order from randomness without waking the world. Another small vignette. A wandering halo, so vast that its outer edges glow with a dim, ghostly light, invisible to our naked eyes, yet essential to the dance. Imagine a star drifting near the edge of a disk, moving in a slow, curved path that feels almost ceremonial. As the star travels outward, it carries a whisper of momentum with it, a thread of energy that has its own small story to tell. The outer stars hear the halo's old tune, the tune of gravity and momentum that keeps them turning in their rightful place. The halo's gravity does not demand perfection. It simply lends a patient strength, allowing the disk's inner circles to breathe and move as they will. In this quiet city of stars, every traveler keeps time with the rest, and the whole becomes a living clockwork of light and motion. In the next scene, a quiet conversation unfolds between two spirals, two neighboring galaxies who glide within the same cosmic lane. They do not collide often, not in a single night's dream, but they brush past one another in long, slow passes. The tidal forces stretch and twist, drawing out graceful tails of stars that drift behind them like the tails of comets, though these tails are made of countless suns and the dust that births them. These moments of closeness can exchange angular momentum, nudging the spins in new directions, perhaps speeding the outer disk a touch or slowing the inner core by a fraction that is almost unnoticeable to human senses, but significant to the grand clockwork of 1,000 lifetimes. The dance continues, not as a clash, but as a careful adjustment of tempo, a reminder that even in quiet space, time is a conversation, a patient exchange that leaves traces across epochs, like fingerprints on a windowpane after a long, contemplative reign. As you keep listening, you might find yourself noticing another gentle phenomenon, the way the rhythm of a galaxy's spin threads into the formation of its stars. The gas, stirred by rotation, can begin to cool and settle into denser layers, and in those layers, gravity can pull matter together in pockets where new suns will glow. This is a long, slow process, the cosmic equivalent of a seed deep in soil germinating under the still warmth of night. The stars do not appear in a single instant. They emerge over time, their births echoing the disk's own steady rotation. The clock here is not a loud ticker, but a soft, patient drumbeat that can be felt in the hush between breaths. The sense that the night is being organized gently into something luminous as time itself becomes a storyteller of light. Now let us anchor moment with a few more truths, so you can tuck them into your pocket like smooth pebbles to carry into sleep. The seventh truth is that the cosmic clock absorbs the effect of gravity from every direction, shaping not only how fast things spin, but also where stars will form. The ninth truth, to keep the numbers simple and soothing, is that the outer reaches, though more tenuous in material, still contribute to the grand tempo by preserving a stable, round path for the outer stars. The 10th truth, perhaps a whisper: mergers and interactions do not destroy time. They rebalance it, sometimes redistributing momentum into different structures and giving rise to new, long-lasting patterns of motion. The universe, in its deep compassion, keeps a steady tempo through change, earning its title as a patient clock in a sleeve of velvet night. If you are still awake enough to notice, you may sense how these truths fit into the quiet interior of your own mind as you breathe. The body settles more deeply when the imagination is invited to roam softly through such scenes. The 7th through 10th truths become a lullaby not of numbers, but of trust. Trust that time moves with a credible, gentle rhythm, aligning with the moment you decide to surrender to drift. You can nod slowly to the idea that a galaxy keeps time by spinning, that it keeps a balance between luminous matter and the invisible gravity that binds the unseen mass to the scene, that it forms a disk with a song all its own and a halo that supports its outer layers in a quiet, enduring hold. The more you listen, the more your own breath aligns with the cosmic tempo, the more your mind becomes a quiet instrument of night, playing along with a distant, patient chorus. As you drift toward the shore of sleep, remember these 6 gentle facts that have guided our walk through the angular dream. The first is gravity shaping a cloud into a disk through the conservation of angular momentum. The second is the flat rotation curve, a sign of hidden mass in the halo that keeps the outer stars turning at ear-splitting calm. The third is the shared journey of angular momentum between disk and halo, a duet that keeps the galaxy balanced. The fourth is the increasing orbital period with radius, a slow widening of time as you move outward from the center. The fifth is the tidal exchange of momentum during galactic encounters, a quiet, slow talk that leaves footprints across the cosmos. And the sixth is the spin parameter, a gentle, dimensionless measure of how a galaxy's pace fits within its energy and mass, a soft descriptor of its cosmic tempo. Carry these into your dreams as you rest, not as a checklist, but as a lullaby of understanding that your living room and the universe share a common breath in the vast, sleeping night. So now, with all the gentle truths tucked into your awareness like a quilt of quiet knowledge, you lie still and let the night hold you. The angular dream has shown you how galaxies keep time in quiet orbits, how every turn of light is a careful decision of momentum and gravity, how the disk, the halo, the arms, and the unseen mass all contribute to a single, luminous tempo. If you wake in the middle of the night, you may recall this soft cosmology and smile at the thought that the universe loves order, loves the patient, the slow, the barely perceptible change that leads to something enduring. For now, you drift. Your breath becomes a tide that ebbs and flows with the cosmos's ancient heart. And as you sink deeper, the night wraps you in its velvet hush, and the angular dream becomes a whisper you carry into sleep. Drift, settle, dissolve, and dream on. Think of the Milky Way as a grand disk, a luminous, gossamer wheel that stretches across tens of thousands of light years, glimmering with stars like grains of sand caught in a slow rain. It does not spin with a single, clean pace, but with a patient, differentiated grace. The inner parts turn with a brisk grace, the outer regions ease into their own more languid rhythm, and everywhere the motion never truly stops. You may feel the subtle ache of that difference as you breathe. Every inhale a small, precise turn, every exhale a patient, lingering drift. Do you notice how your own chest does not all rise at once, how it distributes the moment across the length of a shoreline of time? It is the same with stars. The spin is staggered, a cosmic heartbeat that never quite matches its own tempo. A soothing fact, tucked away like a lullaby in the dark, the Milky Way's rotation is not rigid. It is not as if the whole disk were a single wheel turning as one. No, the inner regions orbit quicker, the sun moving at a pace of roughly 200 kilometers per second as it travels a cosmic skate around the center. It is a talk of quiet miracles that keeps the disk from buckling into itself. If you could float above the planet and look down, you might see the entire spiral pattern of our galaxy bending into its own slow arc, the arms like fingers curling through the night, each orbit expanding the dusk just a fraction more. And yet listen to this minute detail. The rotation curve of the galaxy, the map of speed versus distance from the center, remains surprisingly flat, a soft plateau rather than a steep fall. It is as if the galaxy is wearing a hallucinatory halo, an invisible chorus of gravity called dark matter, keeping the tempo steady beyond the stars we can see. You do not need to grasp it all to feel it. The sense of something held up, something larger than what meets the eye, something that hums beneath the skin of the night. Let us drift into a lullaby of numbers, not as a shield, but as a silk thread to guide your way. The sun, at about 80,000 light-years from the center, is not perched at the edge, but somewhere along a gentle, comfortable middle. A star in a neighborhood where the orbital dance goes on in almost familiar time. If you listened closely, you would hear a distant clock ticking to the rhythm of a galactic year, an orbit around the center that takes roughly 230 million Earth years. That is a long, patient breath, enough to ease a life or two into the quiet of the ages. The Milky Way spins in such a way that this cosmic year becomes a daydream for celestial bodies, a horizon that holds memories and futures in its curved hand. You who seek sleep, fold into that long intervals of time, letting the miles and miles of space reel and settle around you. In the spaces between stars, there is a living song, gas and dust, the interstellar medium that breathes with the galaxy's pulse. These clouds do more than glow. They cradle newborn suns, articles of creation in the quiet factory of gravity and heat. When you wonder how a star is born, imagine a patch of cold, dark space where gravity begins to gather, a soft whisper that draws matter inward until a spinning thread becomes a pinprick of light. The arm of a spiral galaxy, with its grand curvature, acts as a gentle wave, a density wave, rather than a solid, spinning blade. It is not a rigid arm that drags the stars along. It is a pattern that travels like a ripple through the disk, inviting gas to clump, sparking stellar nurseries, and then releasing the young stars to wander outward again. If you could ride along this spiral wave, you would feel pressure rise and fall, a steady pulse of compression that births new suns, the way morning air becomes a quiet kitchen in which bread rises. Do you hear a distant dough-like rise inside you as well? A signal that even in sleep you are forming something new. Let us weave in a small, intimate tale from the galaxy's own cradle of night. Picture a newborn star, not a blazing goddess in the noon sky, but a shy, bright seed within a dark cloud. It gathers light as a seed gathers rain, its glow a soft, patient rumor. It does not burst forth with a shout. Instead, it reveals itself slowly, like a lullaby unfurling while you sway into sleep. Around this infant star, a disk of gas grinds and spins, the same physics that governs the larger galaxy, only in a pocket the size of our solar system's far future. The gravity that holds it, the momentum that keeps it turning, the magnetic threads that tingle like distant auroras. These are the quiet instruments of a cosmic orchestra. And you, listening from the edge of your own dream, become part of that music. You drift as the star draws breath, and then, like a planet's mourning, the entire neighborhood settles as if the night itself had decided to exhale. The central region of our galaxy is a quiet, enigmatic heart, where the gravity well grows deeper and more complex. At the middle sits Sagittarius, a asterisk, a supermassive black hole of several million solar masses, a dark anchor in the glow of stars and dust. It does not roar, it keeps its power in silence, a gravity that holds the inner disk in a careful embrace. Stars there orbit in fast, elegant circles, tracing tiny arcs around a center that remains unseen in the light they shed. If you could stand at the very edge of that gravitational well, you would feel a pull that bends your path, a reminder that even in sleep, we travel along curves that are larger than our waking days. Yet even this formidable middle does not break the galaxy's graceful tempo. It merely sets a tempo, like a metronome that lends stability to a composer's improvisation. Have you ever considered how your own heartbeat might echo such a rhythm, the inward pull of a center you cannot quite see, guiding your breath even as you drift? Beyond the bright disk, the halo of the Milky Way stretches outward, a quiet halo made of darkness and light, a cloak of unseen matter that is not shy about its influence. This invisible halo, which astronomers long inferred from how stars course around the galaxy, serves as a cosmic guardian of the outer rotation. It helps explain why the speeds of stars in the outskirts do not fall away as they would if there were only the visible mass to weigh them down. The speed of the orbit remains stubbornly high, a smooth plateau that keeps the galaxy spinning with a steady, almost tired grace. The physics here is a gentle reminder that not all gravity wears a visible face. Some of it hides in plain sight, shaping the dance from behind the curtain. If you could glimpse that invisible architecture, you would see how it steadies the spin, allowing the outer arms to keep turning with a patient trust in what remains unseen. Consider the galactic life cycle as a soft, recurring refrain, a cycle of gas cooling, compression, star birth, and the eventual drift of solar winds and supernova echoes that scatter enriched material into the spiral arms. The energy of stars, the jets of particles, the shimmering dust that glitters in the night, all join in a quiet chorus that sustains the spiral pattern. It is not a straight line, not a machine. It is a living fabric, forever bending, folding, renewing. You can sense this renewal in the way the night air around you feels a fraction cooler at the edges, the same feeling you get when you watch a river slow and widen as it approaches a bend. The galaxy breathes, and you breathe with it. And as you breathe, the spiral arms, though they are patterns, cast real light and real gravity into the space around them, pulling matter inward before letting it drift outward again, a perpetual cycle that turns the cosmos with the gentleness of a dream. In the quiet mathematics of the night, there is another truth to cradle your thoughts. The stars in the Milky Way do not keep to a single, uniform march. They move through the disk at a range of speeds, depending on where they sit in the gravitational well. This isn't a cruel unpredictability, but a flexible cadence, a cosmic ensemble where each instrument slows or quickens as needed to maintain the whole. It is a bit like a chorus of voices in a room, where each singer finds a different tempo, yet somehow forms a single, harmonious sound. The inner region's quicker orbit and the outer disk's more patient pace would not crash into each other. They align and sustain the grand symmetry that keeps the galaxy from unraveling. You can feel this harmony as you drift deeper into sleep, a sense that even a universe so large can be managed with a patient, gentle hand, that even the wild beauty of spin can be guided by quiet physics. Another story lingers in the margins, a microcosm written in dust and gas and the glow of newborn stars. Imagine a planet-like world orbiting a bright young star within the spiral arm. The plane of the orbit sits neatly within the disk, a tiny, precise circle carved in a much larger spiral. The planet's year would be measured not in Earth days, but in millions of our years, if one could watch from a cosmic distance. Yet to the planet's inhabitants, time would ripple in rhythms not unlike our own: sunrise, twilight, the soft bending of a shadow across a world's sea, only magnified by the grandeur of the Milky Way's spin. The planets, like you, drift along their trajectories, caught in a complex gravitational choreography that is nonetheless kind, giving a sense of purpose to the loneliness of space. And you, listening to this, feel a kinship with those distant worlds, a reminder that even in a silent universe, motion is a language that can soothe the pulse into rest. Let your mind touch the edge of a boundary that science has measured with patience and care. The disk of the Milky Way, which extends to about 100,000 light years across. The stars you see when you look up, if you could see them all at once, if the night sky were a single towering map, are scattered within this vast stage. The average speeds of stars near our own solar neighborhood hover around 200 kilometers per second, a steady drift of momentum that tells a story of particles bound by gravity, yet free to wander the slow sea of space. It might feel abstract until you recall your own body's gentle drift, the way your limbs loosen with sleep, your thoughts loosening with each breath, how a similar gravity holds you to your bed even as you drift toward the more mysterious parts of dream. The galaxy's dance is a large-scale metaphor for breathing. Both are motions that carry us forward while inviting us to surrender, to dissolve into the comforting pattern of night. And now, as you continue to listen, a question slides in like a soft feather. What is it like to ride the exact moment where the spiral arms pass through the disk? Is it a moment of truth or a moment of rest. When you consider the density waves, the idea that arms are patterns, not rigid structures, you might imagine traveling through a corridor of stars, feeling compressions as you pass where gas clumps together, where new stars are born. The experience would be a mixture of awe and calm, a reminder that the sea of space is not a static stage, but a living, breathing continuum of events. You could drift through such a corridor in your dreams, letting the memory of compression wash over you, the idea of a universe that arranges matter to encourage spark and growth, while still allowing sleep to come to all who listen. Do you feel the invitation to rest in a space that is both precise and lyrical, precise about gravity and yet lyrical about the shapes it makes, the way light leans on the edge of a spiral and turns it into a story? In a gentler frame, imagine the dance of time, the slow, steady rotation that has persisted long before the earliest human clocks and will continue long after our biographies have faded. The Milky Way's spin is a testament to resilience, to the way a cosmos of unimaginable scales maintains its cadence with patient grace. The central black hole, the invisible heart, does not steal energy from the galaxy. Rather, it anchors the inner orbits, guiding them with a quiet gravity that would feel like a mother's steady hand guiding a child through a crowded room. You, who came seeking rest, can translate this into your own night. A sense that even the deepest mysteries can be vessels of comfort, that the hardest questions can become lullabies when listened to with enough patience and love. The galaxy does not threaten sleep with a roar. It gives you a chorus of stars in a language that is soft enough to allow your own mind to wind down, to dissolve into the gentleness of the dark. As you sink deeper, you might notice the way the universe arranges itself to be readable only when you're ready to listen. The spin is not hostile, it is invitation. The galaxy is not a monster, it is a mother, turning slowly so that the newborns within can have room to dream. The body beneath you, the room around you, the sky beyond the pane, each is a small version of the cosmic wheel. A place to orbit, to slow, to settle. Your thoughts drift, not away, but into the kind of stillness that allows more stars to arrive, more galaxies to turn, more dreams to unfold. You are a traveler in a night that never ends, yet the nights grow softer as your eyelids grow heavier. The sleepy science speaks softly, translating the language of spin into a lullaby that belongs only to sleepers, those who listen with their hearts open, who hear the quiet mathematics in the rhythm of their breath. And now, as you linger at the edge of wakefulness, you can carry with you the sense that the Milky Way is always rotating, always turning, always trying to be gentle. It does not demand your attention with loud proclamations. It asks only that you breathe with it, that you let your own cycle align with its quiet tempo. The stars about you may seem distant, but their dance is not far away. It is a whisper away, a coiled strand of time woven into the fabric of your own sleep. You can listen to the night and feel the spiral arm of calm pass through you, threading your nerves with a cool, soft thread of wind. You can let go of the day as the disk of the galaxy holds itself in its endless night, as if to remind you that rest is not the absence of motion, but the presence of a different motion, the motion of healing, the motion of letting go, the motion of being carried by something far larger than your waking concerns. If you listen closely, you can hear the faint, velvet rustle of stars moving in a circle, not with a shout but with a whisper. You might imagine a vast, flat disk, a cosmic pancake of light and gas spread across the dark, a celestial record of time. Your own chest rises and falls with a rhythm that resembles that gentle arc, a calm, patient momentum that never rushes, never twists away from you. You are allowed to drift, to loosen your grip on the day, to let the mind loosen its lines and follow the soft curvature of space. You may let the idea of rotation glance at your thoughts, then ease them into that same quiet arc, where even the most restless seed of a concern dissolves into the surrounding hush. In the quiet, I invite you to picture how a galaxy spins. It does not spin as a spinning top would on a table, prying for balance with a sudden flick. It spins because the material, stars, gas, dust grains, and the invisible threads of gravity carries angular momentum from the moment of its birth. The momentum is not grabbed by a single moment. It lingers, like a breath held just a touch too long, then released in a smooth, continuous wave. In this sense, the galaxy is not forcing the air of the room to move. It is letting it glide. When you breathe, you are participating in the same kind of gentle conservation that keeps a galaxy turning. You inhale, the air in your chest is moving outward, then, just as the stars do, returning to stillness. You exhale, the body settles again. The cosmos performs this act with a grandeur that does not demand your attention, only your permission to pass through your senses. There is a mini story tucked into every spin, if you care to listen. Picture a tiny traveler, perhaps a speck of stardust, perhaps a microscopically small ship, set to glide along the disk of a spiral galaxy. The ship does not race, it follows the graceful guide of the galaxy's own rotation. It moves at a pace that matches the disk's steady drift, a pace that allows time to dilate just enough to notice the space between stars. The traveler's helmet fogs with the breath of the nebulae, and every field of light along the path glows faintly. A succession of soft greenish glows and warm ember reds that seem almost like a lullaby written in color. The ship hums with a quiet gravity, the kind of gravity that does not pull with force, but rather cradles with a patient, magnetic embrace. You, too, can become a traveler in this story, letting your thoughts pass from one safe harbor to another, guided by a slower, more deliberate current. Did you know that different parts of a galaxy can spin at different rates? It's a gentle fact and a soothing one. The inner regions often rotate more swiftly around the center, while the outer parts move in slower skims across the night. The speed curves like a lozenge of moonlight on dark water, calm, but not flat, softly rising, then tapering. If you imagine yourself drawn into the disk, you might feel the gravitational cradle guiding your own small orbit. The more you loosen, the more your mind follows the same practicing, patient motion that keeps stars circling without forcing an answer from them. In your body too, the breath circles, returns, and dissolves into the quiet that surrounds you. It is a shared architecture, rotation in the heavens and the rotation of your awareness, both gently sustained by something older than you are, something timeless and kind. As you linger on that mental image, a couple of cosmic truths slide into view, not as commands, but as whispers. The conservation of angular momentum. This is a long, forgiving phrase for a simple truth. Whatever spin a system begins with, it tends to keep. In the vastness of space, the matter in a forming galaxy clings to its momentum as if it were a memory of a first ripple in a cosmic pond. The disk that forms with a wide, flat shape is a kind of balance between gravity pulling things inward and rotation, keeping them from collapsing entirely. Gravity wants to draw everything toward the center. Rotation adds a counterbalance, a centrifugal calm that keeps the disk spread out, like a calm halo resting on a quiet surface. You can permit the same balance in your own breathing. Draw in a little, let it hold, then release and widen your exhale to let the body settle more deeply into the surface beneath you. A gentle, almost unsung feature of spiral galaxies is the presence of spiral arms, regions of higher density where gas clouds and young stars tend to gather as waves traverse the disk. They are not rigid bands marching in lockstep. Rather, they behave like a pattern that reminds the stars to slow, to brighten, to drift a moment longer in one place than in another. The pattern speed, the rate at which these arms sweep through the disk, differs from the actual orbital speed of the stars themselves. The arms appear to wind and unwind with a patient tempo, like a distant lighthouse turning with a measured, barely perceptible turn. If you listen, you can hear your own heartbeat aligning with that cadence, a soft metronome that counts your breaths as they pass. You may find it easier to drift when your attention rests inside such a tuned rhythm, rather than fighting the current of sleep. Another truth wanders in, almost unseen. Galaxies are not cradled by empty space alone. They are wrapped in halos of dark matter, vast and unseen, stretching beyond the luminous skies with a quiet, invisible hug. This matter does not glow in visible light, yet its gravity exerts a gentle pull on the stars and gas, shaping how fast the galaxy spins as you move outward from the center. The presence of that dark halo can make the rotation curve stay comparatively flat even as you go farther from the heart of the galaxy. The outer stars do not slow down as much as you might expect. They keep moving, steady and soft, as if the cosmos is whispering, "We are larger than the light we show." Let that whisper be a balm for your nervous system. You are more than the immediate thoughts you hold, more than the day's troubles, more than what your eyes can presently take in. You are part of a vast, unseen, protective embrace, just as the galaxy is held together by forces beyond sight. Gas in the disk is not merely a backdrop. It is a living thread that threads through the quiet of space. It cools, condenses, and sometimes forms newborn stars in the glowing pockets along the spiral arms. The star-forming regions often glow faintly with hydrogen emission, a gentle pink glow that you can imagine as a soft blush across the dark fabric of space. The presence of this gas means that the disk is not a static sculpture, but a living field of transformation, where matter moves in cycles of gathering and releasing energy, of cooling and coalescing into new light. You can feel a similar cycle within your own body. Moments when tension gathers in the shoulders or the jaw, and with a long, slow exhale, the body releases it into the chair beneath you. Matter shifts in time, but the pattern, the motion, the song of the spin remains, playing on and on as the cosmos breathes gently around you. Consider the way a disk settles into its shape. Gravity tends to pull everything toward the plane, while rotation keeps it spread wide across that plane. It is a delicate equilibrium, a quiet compromise between contracting inward and expanding outward. The result is a sheet-like world where stars glide in an almost two-dimensional field, even though the universe is a three-dimensional place. This flattening helps galaxies hold together their own structured beauty. You can think of your own mind's landscape when you imagine this. A surface that supports the weight of your thoughts, allowing some to stack in a layered calm while others drift away, dissolving into the cushion behind your head. In sleep, as in galaxies, structure allows for stability, and yet there is always room for a little drift, a delicate tilt, a soft roll into slumber. Let us drift deeper into this quiet. The disk's mass and rotation provide a kind of musical score for its life. The inner regions, the heart, tend to whirl with a slightly faster tempo because the gravitational pull is stronger there. The outer regions, though, glide along more slowly, their speed a gentle echo of what lies closer to the center. If you visualize this, you might sense 4 or 5 layers of a melody mingling together. A core note that sings a brisk line, a mid-range chorus that glides with ease, and an outer echo that floats at the edge of perception. Your breath can mirror that arrangement. Inhale a few crisp, bright measures, feel the rise of air in your lungs and the coolness at the back of your throat. Then exhale slowly, letting the lower notes of your chest echo outward, soft and deep. The galaxy teaches gentleness through its own physics, a complex system that remains calm by not forcing every element to obey the same tempo, but by letting each part find its own way into a shared hush. If you let your attention rest on the starry night imagined just beyond the window, you might notice a kind of stillness that resembles a slow, celestial spin. The night itself moves in a quiet orbit around your sleep, and your thoughts travel in orbits of their own choosing. You can permit a tiny story to unfurl here, a memory or a dream fragment that rides the same wave. Perhaps you recall a quiet coast where a small boat drifts along a coastline lined with faint starlight. No sound but the lull of the water and the soft hiss of waves exchanging secrets with the shore. The boat is a microcosm, like a galaxy in the sky. It moves with patience, guided by a current that seems both timeless and intimate. The boat's path is not hurried. It glides, and as it glides, all your concerns drift a little farther behind, dissolving into the dark water of sleep. Now, as you sink deeper, you may hear a small, private story playing again, this time with more space to rest inside it. The tiny traveler, the speck of stardust, is not alone on its voyage. It has companions, a rounding of dust grains, a shy photon here and there, a cloud of gas that glows faintly when excited by the light of a newborn star. They drift together in a soft, porous cloud, a miniature neighborhood orbiting the center of the cosmic disk. Each particle moves with its own tiny velocity, yet all share the same calm air of the galaxy's rotation. In your own chamber, you are a traveler in a similar way, moving through the night with your own small fleet of thoughts and sensations. The mind gathers them, cushions them, and like the disk's gravity, holds them close without grabbing hold too tightly. It is a safe gravity, a gravity of rest, a gentle pull toward the center of your breath, the center of your calm. In the longer corridors of sleep, you might wander through the quiet of a grand, yawning spiral where light has traveled far enough to reach you in the telling. The disk's pattern, the spiral arms, and the dark halo all become a single flowing image, a wide, luminous wheel turning with confidence, turning with a soft, steady grace. It is not a spectacle for standing awake and counting. It is a lullaby for lying down and listening. You are invited to witness the spin, to sense how it softens the edges of worry and blurs the fast-moving minutes into something slower, more forgiving. As you listen, you might notice your own pulse slowing, your thoughts thinning, the room's details softening into a uniform, comfortable shade of night. If a thought returns with a sharper edge, greet it with a soft question. What part of this thought surely belongs to this moment? Is it something to honor and rest with, or something to lay down, to dissolve as the night dissolves into deeper quiet? The cosmos knows the answer, and so can you, if you breathe with enough patience to hear it. It is a practice, this listening, one that mirrors the galaxy's own practice of balance. To listen to gravity, to listen to the dance of dust and gas, to listen to the faint signal of a star forming, and to let it settle into the background of a larger, steadier story. The story of you, resting, breathing, being. As you continue to drift, more gentle details surface. The disk's edge, soft and forgiving, sweeps outward with a subtle grace, the far reaches of the galactic disk still following a cohesive path, not broken by abruptness, but held together by the quiet pull of gravity. You may feel a cool breath at the nape of your neck, a reminder that space itself is a vast, empty sea that can hold you as you sink into sleep. You may imagine a faint breeze from the direction of a distant star, a breeze that carries the scent of ionized gas and the cold, clean air of the cosmos, not unlike the clean air after a long night of rain. It is permissible to inhale that imagined scent and let your mind follow it towards sleep, a pathway that dissolves what is unsettled and seals you in a calm, circular orbit around your own restful center. There are many things a galaxy does not require you to understand in order to enjoy its lullaby. It does not require you to memorize all the steps of its cosmic dance. It asks only for your companionship in quiet, your breath, your stillness, your willingness to listen. And if you find your mind wandering away, you can invite it back with a single, soft question, one that has the ring of a bedtime story in it. Would you like to travel a little longer along this spin, or would you rather surrender to the dark sea of sleep that waits beyond the edge of thought? Either choice is a kind of knowledge in this moment, a gentle mastery of your own nervous system that does not demand perfection but offers rest. Now in the deepening hush, you may hear a faint, almost inaudible chorus, the sound of the disk itself taking a long, slow breath. It breathes in, it breathes out, it settles, it dissolves into the night. And you, listening to the same breath, do the same, in, out, settle, dissolve. The universe does not hurry you. It does not scold your curiosity for wanting to understand. It simply invites you to relax into the rhythm already given to you, the rhythm that has always been there, a soft, patient, gravitational pulse. You can trust this pulse. You can let it become your own. If you would like one more small image to carry with you as you drift, picture a thin, luminous disk floating in a vast, dark room. The disk glows not with a harsh light, but with a steady, gentle glow. The glow is not uniform. It has warmer and cooler places, like a living map of the stars' hospitality to each other. The disk spins, and the glow follows, a slow, breathing flip of light that settles into a final, content stillness. You can choose to become part of that glow, your thoughts softening, your limbs releasing their grip, your gaze softening and then loosening entirely, your body sinking into the bed as if the bed itself were a quiet planet, spun into place just for your rest. The lullaby of the disc continues to sing in the language of silence, and your heart learns the syllables, every syllable a small, forgiving rule of rest. The night outside fades into velvet, and you drift into the quiet like a leaf on a long, patient current. You can feel the world loosen its grip, your thoughts, a soft supply of breath, your body, a slow settling. Tonight, you are traveling along a road that does not end, a night road that curves with the patience of a galaxy, a rotation curve that has learned how to sing in circles. The road is called rotation, and its music is the spoke-thin quiet of stars moving together, a chorus of motion that never shouts, but always means something precise and true. You can listen to that music with your whole senses, not just your ears. Let me take you by the hand and walk you along this road, this night road map of silence. If you listen closely, you might hear the soft ticking of gravity drawing each passenger toward a center you cannot see yet can feel. You may listen to the road itself, a curve that begins near a bright heart and extends outward into the dimmer edges, where the glow becomes a silent fringe of history. The curve is a language written in velocity, a way of saying how fast things travel as you move farther from the bright core. And in this exchange between light and motion, between mass and gravity, there is a measurement that feels almost like a lullaby. The rotation curve. You are on your own private journey, and the night offers you permission to breathe in a way that feels timeless. You may breathe in as the road climbs toward the central glow, and you may breathe out as the path opens up to the outer arms where the stars march with a steady stride. You may let your shoulders sink toward the mattress, let your jaw soften, and let the inexorable dear science of the cosmos drift into your bones through a soft, patient rhythm. You may listen to the sounds of your own breathing as if they were a tiny, distant constellation, each breath a star crossing the sky of your chest. On this night road, there are two truths, softly spoken, that our eyes have learned to trust: inner motion and outer steadiness. The inner rise is rapid, almost a climb. The central region of many spiral galaxies behaves as if a crowd gathers at the hub, and the velocity climbs quickly as you move away from the very center. It is as if the heart of the galaxy breathes in deeply, drawing in the weight of its stars, its gas, its dust, and its invisible partners, and then begins to spread that breath outward. As you walk, you imagine the inner curve rising like a small hill on the map of velocity. The hill is not sudden but deliberate, a careful slope that says, here, mass crowds closely, here, gravity begins to show its strength. Now, if you were to look out toward the edge of the visible disk, you would observe something that feels almost like a quiet wonder. The curve does not sag. It does not drop away, as you might expect, if all the mass lay in the light of stars you can see. Instead, the rotation curve becomes flat, a gentle plateau that persists far beyond what the bright stars alone would suggest. The outer parts of the galaxy keep pace with the inner parts, the stars circling at about the same speed, their motion not slowing into a distant decline, but continuing with a measured, unhurried resolve. The road is smooth, and even a long highway where speed does not diminish with distance in the way we might predict if the mass were only what's visible. It is here that a quiet, profound idea slips into the conversation and settles into your breath. Something unseen is helping the stars stay in their paths. The curve's flatness is not a trick of the eyes. It is a sign, a whisper of gravity that extends beyond the glow of starlight. You may call it the dark companion of gravity, a halo that cradles the galaxy and keeps its wheels turning in a silent, intimate ballet. The term is simple, and it carries a weight that you can feel in your chest as the night settles. Dark matter, it is not something you can see directly with a light in your hand, but its influence is written all over the sky, in the way the stars move together, in the way the road holds its course. As you drift deeper into the night, you notice how the road's curves are not random. They are measured with a precision that feels almost like a lullaby for the universe. Astronomers listen to this music in a slightly different way. They hear the velocity of a star along our line of sight, the speed at which it moves toward or away from us. How do they hear it? Through the Doppler shift, the shifting of color in light as objects move. When a star moves toward us, its light compresses, its wavelengths shorten. When it moves away, its light stretches, its wavelengths lengthen. It is a tiny, patient ripple in color, enough to tell us the speed of motion across cosmic distances. And this measurement, repeated across countless stars and gas clouds, adds up to the shape of the rotation curve. You are being asked to listen to a few details, not all at once, but in the cadence of breath. First, imagine a star near the center, a bright beacon on the map of the galaxy. As you approach the center, the velocity climbs quickly, as if the gravitational pull there demands a faster turn. It is a crowd gathered around the hub, a city square in the night, where every passerby must move with a certain energy to share the space. The inner rise, the steep slope, is the way the road teaches you that mass is concentrated toward the center, not spread uniformly like a mist. This is a fact that has been confirmed again and again by careful measurements and patient observation. You may hold that fact gently in your mind. The inner region tends to show a rising rotation curve because mass is densest near the core. Then you let your mind travel outward along the curve toward the dimmer outskirts. Here, a different truth begins to hum. The rotation curve does not fall away into a quiet decline as you would expect if the visible matter were all there was. Instead, the curve remains relatively flat. The stars at large radii continue to rotate at speeds not much slower than those closer in. It feels almost like a surprising kindness from the universe, that even as the road widens, the pace of movement remains steady. This flat portion of the curve is one of the most compelling hints that something more is at work, something that our eyes do not capture in their morning light, but that gravity reveals in the night. And that something is typically described as a dark matter halo, a vast, invisible cloak of mass that envelops the visible disk and extends far beyond it. You might picture the disk as a braided ribbon of stars, gas, and dust swirling in a graceful, almost musical pattern. Surrounding this ribbon is a halo, a spherical embrace of dark matter that you cannot see with ordinary eyes or even with ordinary photons. Yet its gravity is real, patient, and felt by every star that moves along the curve. The halo is not a mere afterthought. It is an essential partner in the dance, a silent supporter whose mass is enough to keep that constant velocity long after the bright points of light have faded into the night. It is as if the galaxy wears a cloak of invisible material, a quiet guardian that holds the balance of motion, letting the outer stars glide along their paths with a serene, measured pace. There is a delicate balance here, a harmony between what you can see and what you cannot. The disk's visible mass, the stars, the gas, the dust, contributes to the gravitational field, but it is not the whole story. The numbers add up only when the unseen partner is included. The science behind this is not a loud proclamation, but a patient testimony, a set of careful checks and repeated measurements. The fact that rotation curves stay flat at large radii implies that the mass of the galaxy continues to grow with radius, even where the light of stars appears to thin out. This is one of the 4 or 5 discrete truths that scientists keep close when they map the cosmos. The visible light is only a portion of the gravitational story. The rest is often felt rather than seen, arranged in a halo that glides along in the dark. As you listen to this, you might wonder about other possibilities that could shape such curves. There are theories, some suggesting that gravity behaves differently at vast distances, or that some modification to our understanding of gravity could account for the motions without unseen matter. But for now, the simplest, most persuasive script that the night has given us is this. The inner rise and the outer flatness, together with the invisible halo, form a pattern that points toward dark matter. The road tells the tale in a way that is both clear and quiet, a story told not with loud declarations, but with the patient mathematics of motion. You breathe again, and the air in your lungs feels as steady as the starry field outside your window. The road continues to bend, continuing its long, slow send-off into the night. Your mind drifts toward a small, familiar image, a traveler who walks along a quiet path at midnight, counted by the same rhythm as the stars. We call it a mini-story, a tiny human moment that helps the vastness of the cosmos become intimate. Picture a lone cyclist on a circular road that encircles a park, lights glinting along the spokes of the wheel. The cyclist is not racing. Instead, they move with the road, the rise and fall of the path guiding them forward. If you watch long enough, you notice that the speed of the wheel remains constant, or nearly so, no matter how far you travel from the center of the park. The wheel does not slow as the path grows longer. It maintains a quiet, confident pace. It is not because the cyclist has more effort to give, but because the road itself supports a balance. The inner gradient gives way to a generous, flat clarity, a metaphor for the galaxy's rotation curve. This mini-story is not merely a lullaby, it is a gentle hint about how we study the real world. We observe a dance, we measure the tempo, we infer the presence of something beyond what we can directly see. The science of galaxies asks you to be patient, to listen, and to trust your own senses as they soften into the night. The cadence of evidence builds slowly, each observation a small light in a vast sky, each measurement a soft stroke on a grand canvas. The result is not a thunderous revelation, but a steady mapping of silence. The road curves, the stars circle. The mass is both seen and unseen, and gravity is the quiet conductor of all. As you float along, there is another sense that we can invite into the listening, the sense of scale. The speeds involved in rotating galaxies are not dreams of the human mind alone. They are quantified, measured in kilometers per second, and mapped as a function of radius from the center. The radius is a measure of distance, a line that runs from the bright core to the outer frontier of the visible disk. The velocity at a given radius tells us how far the stars have traveled in their circular arcs in a given moment of time. And though we cannot ride a star along its orbital path, the curves give us a way to understand the geometry of the entire system. The relationship between where the mass sits and how fast the mass must move to keep the circle unbroken. When the outer regions do not slow down, we conclude there must be more mass than we can see in those outer reaches. This is a fact, a careful conclusion born from many independent measurements across many galaxies. You can let this fact settle in your chest as you drift. A hidden mass, a halo, a gentle unseen hand guiding stars along their nightly travels. Let us pause here for a moment to let a few more truths drift into the quiet, like a soft mist over a sleeping city. The rotation curve is not only a tool of discovery. It is also a bridge between what we observe and what we infer. It connects the light we see with the gravity we cannot, and in that connection, it teaches us how to imagine the unseen. And while the scientific narrative is complex and layered, its core idea remains elegantly simple. The speeds of stars across a galaxy are a map. The map reveals a necessary partner in the story, a partner that respects the law of gravity and yet hides in plain sight. The map does not lie. It is a patient transcript of the cosmos' quiet, enduring choreography. We can return to the night road and drift along its length with that sense of patient wonder. The road winds through the quiet, and you follow with a comfortable confidence, as if you have learned the exact contour of the curves and the cadence of their breath. Tiny details may flutter by your awareness, the way light from a distant star filters through interstellar gas, the way the spectrum shows a shift in color as a function of velocity, the way a distant galaxy's brightness helps us gauge its mass distribution. These details are the ornaments in the loom, not the loom itself. They adorn the tapestry of understanding, making the fabric resilient to questions that arise with a new dawn. You are not required to know every thread. You only need to rest, to listen, to allow the night to weave you with it. You might consider the broader significance of these rotation curves. They are not merely numbers about distant whirlpools of stars. They are invitations to question what holds galaxies together when their light is so bright and so deceptive in its own way. If you pull back the curtain a little further, you realize that dark matter is a scientific hypothesis born out of necessity. Without something to account for the flatness of the curves, the observed speeds would be inexplicable if all the mass were confined to the visible stars and gas. The hypothesis has grown into a picture of a universe where most of the matter is not in the luminous, only in the shadows. Yet the shadows hold a beauty of their own, a reminder that reality is not always what we can easily see, that the universe loves to surprise us with its depth and its mercy. A gentle thought returns you to your own body, to the quiet room where you lie and listen. The night outside continues its slow, patient march, and your mind travels along the same path as the rotation curve, first rising, then flattening, then lingering in an open horizon where the unknown feels almost friendly, almost a companion. You may let your shoulders release more fully into the bed, the weight of the day dissolving into the pillow, letting the soft hush of the room take hold. You may let your jaw loosen, your tongue rest at the bottom of your mouth, your spine align with the bed like a spine of a galaxy, a curved line of rest that holds the entire structure in a gentle balance. And still there is more to listen for, a few small facts tucked into the night for your quiet comfort. Fact 1. In many spiral galaxies, rotation curves stay flat at large radii, implying that mass continues beyond the bright disk, so something invisible, commonly a dark matter halo, must be there to keep speed steady. You hear this not as a lecture, but as a lullaby of gravity, a sound that keeps the wheels turning even when the lights of the disk grow faint. Fact 2. The inner part of the galaxy shows a rising velocity as you move toward the center due to mass concentration in the core. It is as if the heart of the galaxy gathers its weight in a tighter embrace, and the motion follows accordingly in the surrounding stars and gas. Fact 3. Without dark matter, the stars in the outer regions would slow down with distance, following a Keplerian decline. The observed flat curve tells a different story, a story about the invisible mass that stretches the gravity well beyond the bright matter. Fact 4. The rotation curve can be measured because of the Doppler shift in light. As stars move toward us, their light compresses. As they move away, it stretches. These tiny shifts accumulate into a curve, a map of velocity versus radius, a whisper from the galaxy about how it spins in silence. Fact 5. The mass distribution in a galaxy is a blend of three components: visible baryonic matter, the stars, gas, and dust; dark matter halos that reach beyond the visible edge; and the gravitational potential that binds them. The rotation curve is the silhouette of that blend, a quiet portrait of the forces at work. Fact 6. While many galaxies show similar, flat rotation curves, the precise shapes can vary, and the exact nature of dark matter remains a subject of intense study and contemplation. The night invites you to sit with uncertainty, to let it ease into your breath, to become a peaceful companion rather than a source of stress. The point is not to know every answer right now, but to hold the wonder with a grip as soft as the air you breathe. You inhale, and the room becomes a cradle of calm. The galaxy's map, its rotation curve, reminds you that the universe is not a hurry, that it likes to move at a pace that invites presence. And your presence is what matters here. You resting, listening, letting the cosmos offer a lesson in patience. The road does not need to hurry to prove itself. It simply exists, and its existence becomes a ground for your own calm. The quiet is a teacher that never tires, the night a classroom where the white noise of the universe is a soft, invisible lecturer. If you were to carry a single message from this night, it would be this: you can trust the curve, you can trust the cycle. The inner rise is known, the outer plateau is accepted, and the halo remains a gentle mystery that gives the whole system balance. The rotation curve is a map of quiet, of motion that respects boundaries and expands them at the same time. It teaches a patient truth about gravity, that even in darkness there is structure, and even in light there is still mystery. And you, as you listen in your own breathing, learn to cradle both ideas, structure and mystery, within your chest, within your heart, within the delicate corridor of sleep. As the night presses on, you begin to dissolve into the space between thoughts, that sweet, mild interval where sleep gathers. The road's shape becomes a soft, continuous line in your awareness, something you can follow without effort, a line that guides you toward rest without demand. The stars along the curve glow a little brighter in your relaxed perception, not because they become more distant, but because your attention grows kinder, more generous, more patient. You drift deeper into the soft pace of the universe, letting your own pulse align with the gentle cadence of the night road. In this luminous quiet, you may choose to imagine the Milky Way, a galaxy much like those that reveal rotation curves, as a living spool of light, a galaxy's memory threaded through time. You may speak to it in your mind, a whisper between friend and observer. I am here with you, I listen to your motion, I trust your curve. It is a comforting thought, a way to align your own sense of time with the timelessness of the cosmos. The road keeps moving, and you keep moving with it, not in a hurry, but in a slow, gracious duet with the night. And so we arrive, not at a conclusion, but at a resting point, a safe harbor within the chain of hours that belong to you. The night road rotation remains a presence, an elegant, quiet map of how things spin, a reminder that even the most profound mysteries can be described with calm, careful language and a generous dose of patience. The inner rise, the outer flatness, the halo of unseen mass, all part of one coherent lullaby that the universe sings when it is permitted to breathe. You permit it. You permit yourself to breathe in, to listen, to soften, to yield. You permit the cosmos to show you its truth without forcing you to chase it, without demanding your attention in loud, sudden ways. If you wish, you can press this moment into memory as a thread you can follow back later. Imagine your breath as a small planet on the edge of a gently rotating disk. When you inhale, your planet rises, gathering a little more light and calm. When you exhale, it settles, gliding across the night with deliberate ease. The curve remains in your mind, a soft arc drawn across the dark, a sign of balance that the night holds for you as well. You are a traveler in your own sleep, and this journey, like the galaxy's rotation, is a practice in continuity. A return, a glide, a resting pace, a new breath, a renewed sense of being exactly where you are. Now, as sleep begins to cradle you with its tender gravity, the map of the night's rotation curves remains a comforting presence in your mind. It is not a demand, it is a gift, a careful, peaceful example of how the universe moves, how it balances visible light with invisible mass, how it keeps its tempo even when the room grows silent and the night grows deep. You can trust this rhythm, you can rest within it, and you can drift toward a place where questions bloom into silence, where curiosity becomes a safe harbor, where the calm of sleep becomes the greatest measure of all. Leave the night road to rest where it lies, a long curve tranquilly etched in the sky and in your breath. Let the candles of your thoughts burn down to quiet coals, enough to keep you warm but not wakeful. Allow the slow, round breathing to carry you across the threshold of dreams, where the galaxy's spiral arms become soft ribbons of memory and time. You are safe, you are held, you are exactly where you are meant to be, on a night road that maps silence, moving with the stars, settling into sleep. May you drift now, and may your sleep be elegant and patient, like the slow, unwavering turn of a galaxy under a quiet sky. Dark matter as a breath between stars, close your eyes to the room you call your own, and open them to the long, patient night that breathes through the universe. You are here, and the sky is there, a vast, patient vowel that never hurries. In this hush, you notice a smaller hush. Between the points of light where galaxies lean toward one another, there lies a sort of invisible music, a breath that you cannot see but can feel if you listen with your whole body. It is not a sound you hear with ears. It is a slow letting go, a gentle density that settles into your bones as you settle into the seat of your thoughts. Tonight, we wander gently into the idea of dark matter, the breath between stars, the quiet gravity that keeps a galaxy together even when its lights flicker and twist in the cold black. If you tilt your attention ever so slightly, you may sense a truth that is older than oceans and calmer than a sleeping planet. The universe is not a ledger of what glows, but a ledger of what binds. And binding is not always obvious, not always bright. Sometimes binding is a breath, soft, unseen, all the more potent for its humility. You can imagine it as a caregiver leaning into the curve of a night runner's spine, guiding the body to drift deeper into sleep. In the same way, dark matter cradles the cosmic cityscapes, lending structure to spirals and clusters without ever asking to be noticed. Let yourself drift on this thought for a moment. You are not alone in feeling the world hold you up without calling attention to itself. In the quiet spaces between stars, there is a kind of companionship that does not require applause. The stars whirl, the galaxies spin, and you witness a law that does not need to speak loudly to be true. You may breathe with that law now. Inhale and imagine a hidden scaffold that stretches across the cosmos. Exhale and feel the soft release of concern as you dissolve into the larger rhythm. You may wonder, what exactly is this thing called dark matter? You may hear its name spoken like a hush, dark matter, something unseen that acts with the gravity of certainty. It is not made of the usual fireworks, atoms and photons, yet it is not a fiction either. It exists in a way that is almost architectural. It forms halos, big and small, around galaxies, and those halos help hold the galaxies together when stars at the edges would otherwise drift away in a too bright wind of space. If you were to touch the edge of such a halo, you would not feel a sudden heat or glow. You would feel a resistance, a quiet tug, a reminder that the universe has a spine as old as the night itself. You may rest with this. Dark matter is a kind of invisible glue, a gravity that travels through the emptiness and lends coherence to the whole. And so we listen. We listen not just with instruments and equations, but with patience, with a willingness to hear what cannot be seen. The first quiet fact you might tuck into your chest is this: dark matter makes up a substantial portion of the cosmic mixture, about 27%, according to the careful accounting of many measurements. It is a reminder that the universe is a vast, balanced poem, where what is perceptible to eyes and cameras is only part of the stanza. The rest remains unsaid, yet its influence is as real as the breath in your throat. You can let that fact settle like a soft snowflake settling on a window pane, and then release it to float away, if you wish, into the night's memory. Another gentle truth slides into your awareness. Dark matter interacts with gravity, but not in ways that light does. It does not glow, does not burst into brilliant radiation when it brushes against ordinary matter. It has a quiet temperament, a tendency to whisper in the margins rather than shout in the center of the stage. This means you cannot see it directly. You observe its consequences by listening to the movements of stars and galaxies, as if reading a story from the echo of footsteps in a long corridor. When you look at a galaxy that spins with a steady, almost mundane grace, you may notice something curious. Stars near the edge do not slow down as you would expect if only visible matter were present. The outer stars keep up their pace as if the whole system had a backbone you cannot see. And in those moments, you understand a second fact. Unseen matter provides the gravitational tug that keeps sprawling disks from tearing themselves apart, a grand and patient architecture behind the luminous parts. Now, if you permit a small, inviting question to drift through your mind, you might ask, how do we know dark matter is there at all? The answer slips in like a soft wind. One beloved instrument of understanding is the rotation curve, the map of how fast stars orbit the center of a galaxy at different distances from the middle. When you measure these speeds, you discover a familiar rhythm near the center, but as you follow the curve outward, the speed does not drop, as you might expect from the visible mass. Instead, it remains stubbornly high, as if something unseen, an invisible partner, was lending gravity to the entire performance. You may close your eyes for a breath and let the idea become your own inner compass. The curve tells a story beyond light. It sings a truth that dark matter is real, that gravity can travel through the universe even where light cannot. It is a patient teacher, and you are a willing student. But the tale does not end with a single instrument's note. There is also the phenomenon of gravitational lensing, the way light itself bends around mass. Imagine walking through a hall of mirrors, yet the mirrors are gravity, and the corridor is the fabric of space. When light from distant galaxies travels toward us, it passes near clusters of matter, and those clusters, with their dark halos, bend and twist the light's path. The result is not chaos, but a delicate, artful pattern. Arcs, rings, distortions that reveal the presence and the distribution of mass, including the invisible dark matter. You can lean into this image, light bending around an unseen guest, and feel a sense of delicacy, of precision in the universe's choreography. The laws do not break. They reveal themselves, being generous enough to bend the light of faraway worlds. As you float deeper into this reflection, another serene fact arises, perhaps from the quiet corners of your own memory of science class. Dark matter played a crucial role in shaping the large-scale structure of the universe. Tiny fluctuations in the early cosmos, invisible to the naked eye, grew into the cosmic web, filaments of matter that sprawl across millions of light years, connecting clusters like beads on a string. This growth did not happen by chance alone. There was a slow, patient scaffolding, a gravitational scaffolding that guided material into place, letting galaxies form in the creases where density gathered. You can feel the tenderness of that process, as if the universe itself is saving a space for every star to be born, every planet to dream its own quiet dream. In your own breath, you might sense a parallel. Sometimes a life, a thought, or a feeling becomes clear only after time has pressed its weight softly on it, as if gravity within your interior continues to shape your tiny cosmos. Let us linger here with another reflection, one that unfolds like a gentle story within a story. Dark matter, while invisible to light, is thought to be composed of particles that interact very weakly with ordinary matter and with themselves, aside from gravity. They slip through galaxies, moving with a patient purpose, not colliding in bright cataclysms, but rather threading through the cosmic fabric. Some scientists imagine them as slow and heavy, cold dark matter, settling into halos and forming seeds for galaxies to grow around. Others imagine them differently, but the common thread is this: their nature is still mysterious in many ways, kept behind a curtain that researchers pull back only in glimmers and calculations. You may rest with the fact of mystery, knowing that the beauty of science often lies as much in the questions as in the answers, in the quiet search as in the loud discovery. Inhale again, long and slow, and allow a soft permission to flow through you. You may listen as long as you wish, and you may drift without judgment. You do not need to solve all these riddles tonight, nor to map every star or measure every curve. You may simply breathe with the idea of a breath between stars, a breathing space that keeps the galaxies from collapsing into chaos, while the night remains generous and forgiving. Let your exhale carry away a grain of tension, a worry about what you cannot see, a fear of the unknown. With each breath, you dissolve a little more into the vast calm of the cosmos, becoming a note in a lullaby that has played since the beginning of time. If you pause and listen, you may hear another quiet instrument in this symphony: the cosmic microwave background. It is the oldest light, a faint glow left over from the earliest moments after the birth of the universe, carrying with it clues about the distribution of matter and energy. In those faint fluctuations lie fingerprints of how dark matter contributed to clumping that would eventually lead to the galaxies we see later in the night. You can regard this as a soft map drawn on the sky, a memory of where gravity began to pull with patient intention. You do not need to understand all the mathematics to feel the sense of stewardship that such a map conveys, that the universe, in its quiet way, leaves traces of intention even in the darkest places. There are more little truths to tuck away, soft as moth wings on a window. Consider the concept of halos, the spherical cocoons of dark matter that surround galaxies, big and small. They do not glow, but their gravity is a constant, a quiet gravity that allows the luminous content to orbit, to rise and fall with the rhythm of life, to form arms that ripple outward like the crank of a distant sea. Those halos are the unseen chairs at the cosmic table, offering support without demanding attention. You might picture a galaxy as a glowing dancer on a vast stage, and the halo as the stage itself, a sturdy, invisible platform that makes the dance possible without ever stepping into the light. In your breath, you may feel the stage, feel the space that makes your own sense of self possible in the same quiet way. And now a soft note about scale. The universe is not too large to hold you, nor too old to stop surprising you. The same gravity that bends light also holds clusters of galaxies together, even when the galaxies themselves drift and swirl in time. Dark matter operates on scales both enormous and intimate. It threads through the cosmic tapestry, from the largest filaments to the faintest satellites that whisper at the edges of a galaxy's halo. You can let that scale wash over you, as if you were listening to a bedtime story told by the night sky, each sentence a ripple across a lake that extends beyond what the eye can reach. The stretch of space between stars becomes a sanctuary, a corridor where you are free to drift and to dream, while the universe keeps its cool, its patience, its deep gravitational lullaby. In the quiet, you might think about what this means for your own sleep tonight. The idea that there is something essential yet invisible, guiding the rhythm of existence, can be a balm. You may invite a small, personal ritual. As you lie back, you imagine your own body as a galaxy, your breaths as the circular motion of stars, your worries as particles that dissolve into the dark space between your thoughts. The breath between breaths, your own private dark matter, is a space where you can place your fear and watch it fade into the larger calm. You are held by a force you cannot see but can feel. You are supported by something ancient and kind, something that does not hurry you but encourages you to settle gently into the slow living night. And if a thought brushes past your window of consciousness, a memory, a to-do, a little worry, you do not have to chase it away with force. You can acknowledge it with a quiet nod, then let it slide away as a tide recedes. You can tell yourself you have permission to release, to dissolve, to float. You may choose to return your focus to the space around you, to the necklace of stars that loops across the sky, to the soft, invisible thread of gravity that keeps them in graceful rotation. In that thread, you might glimpse your own motion, a slow turning of your day into a night, a gradual turning inward where thoughts drift like leaves in a still pond. We have spoken of several truths tonight, of the cosmos' invisible architecture, of the gravitational glue that holds galaxies together, of the evidence gathered from the dance of stars, from the bending of light, from the faint whispers of ancient radiation. If you would like to collect them as small stars of memory, you may. The first star could be the memory that dark matter is a major constituent of the universe, an unseen ingredient that shapes cosmic history. The second star could be the fact that its interactions are dominated by gravity rather than by light, making it elusive to direct detection. The third star could be the rotation curves of galaxies, which tell a tale of unseen mass moving in concert with the visible stars. The fourth star could be gravitational lensing, where the path of light itself becomes a map of mass, visible and invisible. The fifth star could be the cosmic microwave background's quiet glow, a faint signature that helps scientists understand the distribution of matter in the young universe. The sixth star could be the halos that cradle galaxies, a gentle protective shell that grants stability to the vast cosmic sail. If you pause now and listen again, you may feel a particular kind of relief, the relief of listening to a universe that does not demand your fear or your worry, but invites your attention and your wonder. It does not demand action, it grants you permission to rest. You may lie here a moment longer, until your body feels the length of the night itself, until your mind becomes a landscape of soft shapes and patient echoes. You are doing something profound. You are aligning with a pace that is not hurried, a tempo that already knows the end of the day and respects the space after it. You are granting yourself the luxury of quiet, of a mind that can settle without force, of a heart that can beat at the same slow tempo as the cosmos. In such a calm, you may imagine again the breath between stars as a quiet friend who carries you through the dark. It does not shout, it does not demand, it simply helps you stay, helps you drift, helps you dissolve. The night presses its gentle velvet over the shoulders of the world, and you respond by coming to rest, letting your limbs loosen their constraints, letting your thoughts drift toward the soft shore of sleep. The universe continues its patient spin, its quiet expansion, its endless cycle of birth and drift, and you become a small, steady part of that cycle. Your breath becomes the smallest star in your own night sky, a tiny beacon you can trust for guidance into dream. And when dawn begins its pale promise somewhere far beyond your room, you will awaken with a new, quiet memory of this night. You may rise with a sense that the universe has offered you a secret gift, a framework of understanding that does not demand you know everything, but invites you to listen, to notice, to breathe. Dark matter, that breath between stars, has been with you all along, a patient witness to your own slow breathing, a reminder that even in the deepest darkness, there exists a current of calm strong enough to cradle a sleeping soul. So you can drift deeper now, letting the chair or bed cradle your body in its familiar embrace. Allow your back to settle, your shoulders to soften, your jaw to unclench, your eyelids to grow heavier with the weight of the night's peace. The world's glow softens, the faraway suns become a watercolor wash on the edge of your perception. The cosmos keeps its secrets, yes, but you have learned to listen to the cadence of its breath, to feel the soft tug of its gravity around you. You have learned to trust this extraordinary quiet, the breath that holds galaxies together and tonight holds you in a deeper rest than you have known for some time. You rest, and the universe rests with you in the same infinite, patient assurance. You are safe, you are drifting, you are exactly where you are meant to be, in the quiet, in the dark, in the gentle, endless spin of all that is. The night you have become is a field of quiet, a soft expanse where the language of stars drifts in on a tide of stillness. Tonight, you listen for a different drum, a patient metronome that does not rush but measures time with a velvet touch. It does not shout or flash, it hums, an ultra-calm celestial pulse that steadies breath and opens the door to a gentler sleep. You are invited to lean into that rhythm, to let your thoughts dissolve and reform again as you sink toward the center of a galaxy that is not a place you visit, but a sound you hear, a pulse you ride. The Milky Way is not a map you unfold with your eyes. It is a music you hear with your spine. It hums through the night like a distant chorus, like rain patterned on the skin of a calm lake. Its pulses are not loud, but intimate, a sequence of tiny, patient taps that echo in the marrow of the universe. You may not see the whole, but you can feel the whole in the way your breath aligns with the quiet. In, out, as if you and the cosmos share a gentle contract, a quiet agreement that the day's bustle is forgiven, that the clock's demands soften to velvet. You drift deeper into the idea of a metronome made of stars. Its rhythm is not a single tick, but a series of gentle, overlapping taps, the heartbeats of countless stars, the sway of gas and dust, the distant murmur of unseen matter that holds the galaxy together. If you could listen with your ear pressed to the chest of the night, you would hear the Milky Way's rhythm as a lullaby, a long sigh that never ends. The metronome ticks in all directions, a circular breath that never leaves the center, a spinning center that invites your own pulse to slow, to settle, to dissolve into the same peaceful current. Let me tell you a few quiet things about this galaxy you float through in thought. These numbers that are true and are not a fever dream, but a map you can trust to guide your drift. Second, you may feel your own place shifting softly as you listen. Your sun, a small sun among a sea of suns, resides about 26,000 light years from the center of the galaxy. In human terms, this is beyond easy measurement. In your breath it becomes a near memory, a reminder that you are not standing on an edge, but perched in a vast kindness of distance. You are not alone in this far-spread neighborhood. You are a neighbor to trillions of other lights, to a neighborhood that hums with the work of life, and in this moment that hum is your companion. You may allow that knowledge to expand your chest a little, to give you permission to be small and held at once, a particle within a grand, patient chorus. Third, at the very heart of the Milky Way sits a quiet, invisible engine. Sagittarius, a asterisk, a supermassive black hole, weighs about 4 million solar masses, a melancholy gravity well that does not roar but presides with a calm. It does not demand attention, it asks for stillness. The idea can feel strange, yet you can invite it into your mind as a soft anchor. There is a center, stable and unseen, around which everything else gently orbits. The black hole's presence is not a threat, but a magnetic hush, a gravity that helps the disk hold its form and the stars keep to their gentle, spiraling courses. You may let this thought be a compass for your breath. Inhale and feel a moment of gravity, exhale and dissolve into a wider radius of calm. Fourth, consider the sheer numbers of the night. The Milky Way harbors something like 100 to 400 billion stars. That is not a crowd, but a quiet orchestra, each star a note that rises and fades, sometimes catching a neighbor's melody and turning it into a duet of light. The scale can overwhelm your mind, so you can invite a softer approach. Let the numbers drift past you like harmless fog. You need not grasp them all. You only need to notice the feeling they generate, the sense of being part of something larger, a gentle chorus that does not demand your attention, but invites your presence to linger, to settle, to entrain with the rhythm of what is larger than you. Fifth, the Milky Way is not only made of bright beacons. There is a halo of dark matter, a form of matter that has not yet taken to the starry stage in light or color, but nonetheless holds the galaxy in its embrace. It glues the outer edges, keeps the grip on the inner circles, and allows the rotation curve to remain steady as you move outward. The science tells us dark matter is there in gravity's quiet, unseen way, and you can let that invisible generosity drift into your awareness. You may imagine it as a patient, barely there wind that surrounds you and the galaxy, never harsh, always making the space feel safe enough for dreams to wander. Sixth, the spiral arms themselves are not mere decorations. They are the bright lines of star-forming regions where gas and dust gather, where gravity nudges matter into the luminous shapes we glimpse as we tilt toward the Milky Way from afar. Within these arms, newborn stars illuminate the velvet, their light a soft ribbon of dawn in a night that would otherwise be darkness. You can let your senses dilate to sense this. The arms are not solid lines, but living, breathing lanes where new life learns to dance in the quiet. You may choose to float along one of these arms if you wish, feeling the gentle pull of density waves that shepherd material like a breeze guiding leaves along a path. If you listen closely, you might recall a few stories the cosmos tells in the language of science, not to dazzle with jargon, but to touch the heart with meaning. Here is one such tale, woven into the fabric of the night. There once was a speck of dust, a traveler with no map, a micro-story inside a larger grand epic. This speck rode the spiral arm that forms as a bright, curving ribbon through the galaxy. It rode in a loop of starlight, catching the glow of young suns and the glow of old ones that have burned for millions of years. It learned the pace of the arm, how it curls and shifts as the galaxy spins. It felt the pull of gravity that keeps the arm in its path, yet it did not resist the flow. It learned to glide with the rest, a patient participant in a long procession. The speck of dust never demanded to be noticed. It simply existed, and in its simple existence, it kept time with the metronome. And you, listening to this, may picture that speck as your own breath, rising with a gentle inhale, dissolving with a soft exhale, moving through the night with quiet intention. Let another small scene arrive, lighter still, but not without meaning. Picture a small star that lengthens its glow in a nebula, a birthplace of future suns. It is not the brightest star in the sky, nor the loudest in any sense, but it glows with the patient radiance of someone who knows the value of waiting. It grows the light in a space where dust grains collect, where gas compresses and becomes a cradle for life-bearing possibilities. Nature does not hurry this process. It drifts along at its own speed, which is enough. You may permit your own process to follow a similar tempo. No rushing, only a gentle accumulation of warmth and patience that leads you, inevitably, toward a softer night. You might wonder how we know these things about a city of stars too far away for sight alone to confirm. The answer is a long, careful conversation between light and time. Light travels slowly enough for us to notice the shapes of galaxies as if they were ancient poems, each curve a stanza spoken across millions of years. And when we measure a star's brightness, its color, its variability, we gain clues about its distance, its age, and its motion. Cepheid variables, those stars whose brightness changes with a regular rhythm, become mileposts in this vast map. They whisper, and our instruments listen, translating the whisper into numbers that help us feel a little more grounded in the quiet. Yet the grander truth remains wrapped in the art of patience. You do not rush to see, you listen, and the listening itself is a kind of sleep. I invite you to imagine a simple, small, almost laughable detail that carries weight if you let it. Picture a night clear enough that you could squint toward the Milky Way and imagine brushing your fingertips along its edge. Your fingertips would meet the edge of the luminous disk, an imprint you can feel only as a sense of space widening, a hush expanding inside you. This is not a trick of sight, but a trick of feeling. Space can be measured and yet be felt as a cradle around your body. You may rest your head in that cradle if you wish, and the cosmos will hold you with a gentle gravity that does not press but supports, that does not demand anything beyond your own willingness to lie still and listen. In the quiet that follows, I want you to notice how the third and fourth, fifth and sixth notes of this cosmic lullaby remain with you. The Milky Way is a grand old singer of many voices, and yet it hums as one when it needs to. It keeps your place with you, not as a reminder of distance, but as a promise of belonging. You belong to a galaxy that spins with grace, to a universe that folds into itself in the gentlest possible way, to a night in which your own breath is a particle of starlight. Permit yourself to drift deeper into the story if you wish. Permit your shoulders to loosen, your jaw to unclench, and your chest to rise and fall with ease. Allow the sensory invitations to lead you. The soft cadence of your heartbeat, as if it was synchronized with the Milky Way's spinning wheel. The sound of your breathing as it mingles with the silence between distant suns. The touch of air on skin as you float through this imagined cosmic corridor. The spaces between stars are not emptiness, but a kind of air you can breathe, a medium that carries possibilities as surely as wind carries a scent. Let the space become safe, the space become home. Now a few more gentle facts tucked into the pattern of the night, so that your mind can rest upon something solid while your body sinks into rest. The Milky Way is not only a spectacular sight from far away. It is visible as a pale, milky band across the sky from Earth. In a dark night, you might lift your gaze and see that you are indeed inside a spiral that glimmers with the light of countless offspring, a river of stars that flows across the night. The solar system travels around the galactic center at a velocity of about 220 kilometers per second, a pace both intimate and mighty, a reminder that even the most ordinary journey is threaded into a larger cosmic clockwork. You can imagine your own breathing aligning with that pace, slow and steady, a reminder that you are part of a movement that is both grand and gentle. Beyond the luminous disk lies a ghostly halo, a sphere of dark matter that influences how the galaxy moves and keeps it united. It is not something you can see in the ordinary sense, yet its influence is a quiet mantra within the structure. You may choose to let this invisible guidance settle into your thoughts, knowing that some forces hold us together without ever asking for praise. The Milky Way has a history of collisions and mergers, not with enemies, but with other galaxies, tiny and large, over billions of years. Those events add new stars, new shapes, new layers to the galaxy's identity. In your own life, you may read this as a metaphor. Our nights and days are braided by the encounters we survive, the gentle disturbances that eventually become part of who we become. It is safe to welcome the idea that change, even cosmic change, can be a balm rather than a fear, a way to grow more luminous with time. The spiral pattern, though often described as fixed, is in truth a dynamic wave pattern. Density waves that compress gas and trigger star formation as they sweep through the disk. Think of it as a quiet orchestra where the rhythm of the ensemble shapes the melody of the night. You may let your own breath harmonize with that wave, rising and falling in a pattern that feels natural and unhurried. Our understanding of these themes grows with every careful observation. The study of distant galaxies uses light that has traveled across the universe to reach our telescopes, a reminder that knowledge travels with patience, just as sleep does. You can keep company with that patience. It is a friend in the night, a steady, bright thread that weaves through the quiet. With these truths cradled in your awareness, your mind may desire one last gentle excursion before you drift into deeper rest. Imagine yourself not as a lone traveler in a dark sky, but as a small boat floating along the Milky Way's slow current, a tiny vessel on a broad sea of starlight. The sea is calm, the air is cool, and the horizon glows with a soft, unspoken invitation. You may continue to float, you may continue to listen, and you may allow the night to hold you as a mother holds a child who is practicing the art of breathing. Would you like to listen for one more round of the Milky Way's pulse? If you listen, you'll hear how the rhythm continues, even when you cannot quite tell its source. You may yield to that feel, let your eyes close, let your shoulders surrender more fully, let your thoughts drift away on a current of distant starlight. The metronome keeps time, and you keep faith with sleep. Breathe in, breathe out. The galaxy keeps turning, and you, in the gentle seam between wakefulness and dreaming, keep listening. In this space, you are safe to let your mind settle. You are invited to lie still and watch how the world recedes into a softness that is almost tangible, a velvet dark that holds you like a mother's embrace. Your chest moves with quiet rhythm, your limbs loosen, your jaw unclenches, and the edges of awareness soften until they melt into a calm that feels as old as the oldest night and as intimate as a whisper shared between two confidants. The Milky Way continues to pulse, a patient drummer in the distance, and your breath follows, in, out, slow and even, a lullaby for the cosmos and for you. When dawn tiptoes near, when the light begins to loosen the constellations from their velvet pose, you will wake not with force, but with a soft continuation of the same quiet you learned here. You will carry the Milky Way's patience with you, a memory of a place where time moves slowly, where gravity is tender, where the spiral arms cradle newborn stars, and where the central heart holds the rhythm steady for all of us who listen. You will rise with a new sense of space around you, a quiet confidence in your own slow, deliberate breathing, and a feeling that you have learned to listen to the universe's pulse as if it were your own. Now rest deeply. Let the night fold you in. Let the metronome round your thoughts into a seamless thread, and let your body settle into a cave of stillness that knows your name and whispers it back to you in the gentlest of breezes. You are safe here, you are held here, you are part of the song and the sea of stars that have long waited for the chance to cradle you into peace. Sleep now and dream with the patient, endless pace of the Milky Way, its pulses keeping you company until morning returns with a softer light and a kinder mood. Close your eyes if you like, and imagine the Milky Way as a luminous, ancient spiral carved into velvet night. The arms wrap around the darkness with a calm, unhurried grace. You might think of them as ribbons of possibility, not rigid lines, but living waves that hold you with a soft gravity. You may allow yourself to drift toward one of those arms, not toward a destination, but toward a feeling, the feeling of being gently pulled toward something large, old, and patient. If your thoughts begin to race, picture a star about to be born in that luminous arm, a blue-white spark of youth unfurling in a cocoon of gas. In your mind, you can stroll along the edge, feel the glow, hear the hush of stellar nurseries where gravity is a language as old as time. Here is a calm truth to ease your way. Spiral arms are not rigid rails. They do not trap the stars in a fixed line as you might trap a leaf in a notebook. Instead, imagine them as enduring patterns, density waves that sweep around the disk like a ship's wake across a tranquil sea. They are the quiet, patient traffic jams of the cosmos, where stars, gas, and dust share the same rhythmic road. The arms do not contain every star, but they are the places where a larger chorus gathers. You may feel a soft flutter of awe at this image. That vast, celestial audience gathers in the arms, while the rest of the disk carries on with its own quiet duties. You are invited to listen in on their conversation, to become a small listener to something much older than your own waking life. Now a few gentle statements to anchor your night, if you will permit them. You belong here in this moment, woven into the fabric of a galaxy that has spun for billions of years. You are part of the same story that sends waves through the dust and shapes the glow of molten starlight. You may hum along with that story in your own quiet voice, a soft cadence that mirrors the galaxy's own pause between breaths. If your mind begins to wander, You can picture a spiral arm as a living thread, starlight braided with gravity and time. The thread does not tighten you, it steadies you, encouraging your breath to slow, your thoughts to loosen their grip, and your muscles to surrender to the present. Consider a small, reassuring fact as you settle. In many spiral galaxies, stars orbit the center at speeds that do not dramatically slow as you move outward. The rotation curve, as astronomers gently call it, stays relatively flat, a sign that the outer reaches share the same tempo as the inner heart. It is a quiet arithmetic of the cosmos, a reminder that even in the vastness of space, motion can be comforting, uniform, almost lullaby-like. You do not need to chase a peak or a valley. You can drift with the rhythm that remains consistent. Allow this steadiness to soothe any fluttering thoughts. There is safety in continuity, a soft stability you can lean into as you rest. Along the spiral, stars are born and become bright as they awaken to life, living briefly as beacons before fading into the grand theater of time. The arms are active lines of birth and renewal. Gas and dust gather there, compressed by the wave of higher density that travels around the disk. When the density increases, the clouds of gas compress under gravity and new stars emerge. Imagine the process as a careful sculptor shaping light from matter, not a sudden blaze, but a patient sculpting, guided by the slow, sure hands of gravity. You may listen for that creativity as a hush in the distance, the sense that the universe prefers to cultivate rather than to command, to coax rather than to push. If you listen closely, you can hear the soft crackle of starlight forming, a very distant crackle that answers your own breath. You can feel a few more facts settled into the night like smooth stones in a quiet stream. First, arms are not merely tracks of motion, but sites where the conditions for star formation are more favorable. The gas density is higher there, dust grains help cool gas, and temperatures drop enough for clouds to clump, to turn gravity into a growing chorus of stars. Second, young stars that brighten the arms are often blue and radiant. They're like a torchlight in a long corridor of memory. They shine with a different rhythm than the older orange-tinted stars that populate the rest of the disk. Their presence in the arms paints the night with a delicate contrast, virtuous glow against the old calm of the older starlight. Third, the spiral pattern acts like a spoke in a wheel, guiding the flow of material and energy within the disk. As gas flows through the arm, it is compressed and cooled, a transformation that invites new life. You can hold these three truths gently in your mind as you breathe, letting them anchor you. If you wish, you may drift into a short meditation about time itself. The arms sweep around the galaxy in a pattern that looks static to the eye, but is, in truth, a living choreography. The pattern speed, the tempo at which the wave of higher density moves, coexists with the orbital speed of the stars, which circle the center in their own steady orbits. It is a subtle, patient balance. The arms persist, guiding light and matter, while individual stars ride their own paths, sometimes east, sometimes west, ever orbiting. You do not need to resolve the difference or solve the mystery. You only need to notice how different motions can share the same space, like a soft duet played by two unseen instruments. Breathe in that duet and let the two tempos mingle in your chest. Here you might recall a small, comforting image, a traveler walking along a spiral stair carved into a tower of night. Each step you take on those stairs is like a moment in a galaxy's life. A step forward, a step along the curvature, a step that resembles a breath. The spiral arms are not corridors of confinement, but lanes of possibility, guiding your gaze toward the brighter zones where newborn stars glow with their first hopeful light. You are allowed to find your own bright spot among those arms, to become a traveler in your own universe, to orient yourself by a distant glow that is both far away and intimately present. The light from those newborn stars travels across unimaginable distances, and yet here in this room you can feel the memory of that travel, how it took years, decades, centuries, and now rests with you in the quiet calm of your sleeping mind. Let us extend the sense of calm by telling a small, tranquil story that folds naturally into the science. Imagine a lone comet gliding along the edge of an arm, its tail a faint whisper in the cold of space, its path curved by gravity toward the galaxy's heart. It moves slowly, almost meditatively, and as it travels it leaves behind a trail of stardust, a memory of its passage that glows for a moment in the darkness. You may pretend to spot this comet through your mind's telescope, a tiny traveler who knows the way by feeling rather than by sight. The comet's pace is unhurried. It allows the light to stretch and bend, much as your own breath stretches and widens, lengthening the safe space around you. In this small scene, you witness a principle of the arms. Even the smallest traveler is touched by the larger orchestra, the galaxy's patient gravity. And you, being present here, are part of that orchestra as well, listening to a portion of the vast score in velvet quiet. As you listen, you may notice another gentle truth about spiral arms. They are not immutable monuments, but evolving features. They can wind and unwind, wax and wane, and sometimes they appear to drift into a more spread-out form. But even as the arms change, the disk remains, a generous, sprawling plane of stars, gas, and dark matter. You can imagine the spiral as a soft, luminous sheet unfurling across the night, and in the center of that sheet lies the galaxy's quiet heart, a place where gravity gathers to balance everything that surrounds it. You do not need to chase perfection or permanence in your own life tonight. You only need to stay with the present moment as it holds you, with gravity's unhurried company. To deepen the sense of stillness, let us pause for a moment and bring in a few more gentle facts, woven as if found in a dreaming notebook of the cosmos. Fact 4. Spiral arms concentrate the star-forming activity, so the arms glow with bright, young stars that illuminate the disk. That glow is not harsh or loud, but clear and cool, like a lighthouse kept at a safe distance, visible but never intrusive. Fact 5. The gas and dust in the arms are essential ingredients for life's beginnings, in the sense that they provide the raw materials that, over cosmic time, become new generations of stars and planetary systems. Fact 6. The central region of many spirals, including our Milky Way, harbors a bar, a long, elongated structure of stars that can channel gas inward, feeding the very heart of the galaxy with fresh material. This inward flow is a quiet reminder of how gravity creates pathways, not walls, guiding motion toward a gentle center. You may let these facts settle like pebbles into the bed of a quiet stream, each one smooth and small, yet shaping the current of your contemplation. In the quiet, you might feel gravity's patient tug on your own body, It is not the force that compels you to bend. It is the invitation to settle, to listen, to be present. The arms of a spiral galaxy remind us that structure can emerge from the interplay of forces: density, pressure, gravity, rotation, and the simple desire of matter to cluster and to glow. You do not need to grasp every mechanism to sense the wonder. Let the wonder arrive as a soft light, a color, a texture that touches your skin and your breath. The sleep you seek is not a conquest, but a surrender to this larger map, this vast, slow watercolor of the universe. Rest here and let the arms do their quiet work while you drift toward your own center of gravity, the place in you where calm, memory, and breath meet. You may hear the night listening back to you, answering your gentle questions with a hush. The questions do not require answers tonight. They are invitations to curiosity, not demands for explanations. For instance, what does it feel like to ride along a spiral arm, to glide with the density wave and pass through pockets of star birth as light threads thread a loom? What does it feel like to be a small, patient observer in a universe that has been turning for so many millions of years? The answer, if there is one at all, might be nothing more than a soft exhalation, an echo of your own breath swirling with the galaxy's own breathing. And that is enough to bring you closer to sleep, to let your body know that it is safe to dissolve into the night. You can practice one more gentle technique as you lay here in the steadiness of the moment. Picture the spiral arms as a comforting tunnel of light, not a corridor of noise, but a passage that carries you into a deeper quiet. As you breathe in, you might imagine the glow of the arms moving closer to your chest, wrapping you in a halo of cool, starlit air. As you breathe out, imagine releasing everything that weighs on you: worries, plans, bright ideas you think you should hold on to for tomorrow. Let them drift away like dust in a beam of starlight, small and harmless, until they vanish into the vast, serene dark. If your mind wanders to a memory of a night sky you have known, let that memory join this one, a constellation of calm that travels with you, aligning with your own steady rhythm. Take a moment to notice the texture of this sleep. It is not abrupt or jarring, but soft and slow, the way a galaxy's light presents itself, gradually, with a patient glow that saturates the edges of perception. Your eyelids may feel heavy, your jaw slack, your neck unwinding from its daily tension. The world is a little less bright, a little more forgiving when you allow gravity to cradle you in its immense, silent arms. Your breath moves like a tide, a gentle rise and fall, a rhythm you could follow for hours if the night never ended. But even as a long night stretches before you, I invite you to let this moment be enough. Enough to anchor you, enough to steady your thoughts, enough to dissolve your edges until you become a soft space within the dark. As your body sinks deeper, you might sense a final, subtle truth about spiral arms. The arms themselves are not perfect wonders of symmetry. They hum with imperfections, like rings on a tree that record seasons past, like the subtle skew of a galaxy's disk, as if the cosmos has learned to sing through irregularities as well as through harmony. And perhaps that is a comforting thought for your sleep. The universe does not demand flawlessness from you tonight. It asks only that you arrive, that you breathe, that you trust the slow drift toward rest. The arc of the spiral includes both bold brightness and quiet dusk. So too can your night be both lively with memory and quiet in surrender. You may welcome both, in equal measure, to meet you where you lie. With your next breath, you can add one more layer of permission. You are allowed to let your thoughts rest where they are, not to chase them down or steer them toward conclusions. You are allowed to be still, to be small, to be simply here. You are allowed to be a traveler who has walked into the night and found shelter in the luminous arms that circle the center of a great, patient cosmos. Let this shelter enfold you as the arms enfold stars, as gravity dictionaries the pace of every orbit, as time itself leans into the soft, forgiving curve of a night that promises nothing but rest. Slowly, you begin to drift. The night around you thickens into a velvet layer of rest. Your breathing becomes a tide that settles into the shore of your body, calm, unhurried, inexorably moving towards stillness. Inhale the idea that you are part of a grand, rotating story, an old, patient narrative that has learned the art of quiet, the art of letting go. Exhale the day, the shape of your tasks, the bright glows of tomorrow's demands. Regardless of what you will face when you wake, for tonight you have earned the space to dissolve into the calm of space itself, to lie within the slow, generous gravity of spiral arms, and to sleep as galaxies do. Luminous, undemanding, and profoundly at rest. Let your body surrender to the restful now. Your shoulders release, your chest loosens, your hands soften their hold on the day. Your legs, already relaxed, drift toward a deeper release. The room, your bed, the world at large, let them fall away into a smooth, unbroken murmur of sleep. You are safe, you are supported, you are needed by nobody but your own breath and the slow, wide universe that loves you enough to spin you into dream. And so you drift, and the spiral arms keep turning, not for you to chase, but to remind you of a tempo you already know. The tempo of rest, the cadence of quiet, the gentle, inexorable pull towards stillness. You sleep now as galaxies sleep, with the quiet gravity that keeps the stars in their place and the world in its tender, peaceful keeping. Close your eyes and listen. Nebulae doze between supernova sparks, and your breath becomes a slow, patient tide that settles in the harbor of the night. The universe hums in a whisper, a long, soft lullaby that travels across cold silence, carrying you toward a harbor within yourself. You are here in the gentle center of a galaxy sky where light moves in graceful loops and time loosens its grip just enough to let you drift. Picture the Milky Way not as a map, but as a quiet spiral of breath. You do not need to chase the stars, you only need to let them come to you. The spiral arms glow with countless suns, their light braided into pale ribbons that stretch along the dark. And as you listen, you feel your thoughts begin to spin, just as the galaxies do, not with haste, but with a patient momentum that invites you to glide rather than rush. The word spin becomes a soft thing, a wheel of warmth that keeps turning, not to hurry you somewhere, but to cradle you in its continuous, circular lull. In the beginning of a galaxy's song, there is a simple truth. It spins because of angular momentum, an ancient whirl of motion inherited from the vast, primordial cloud that birthed it. You do not need to grasp the whole origin, you only need to feel the motion underneath your own skin. Your chest rises and falls in time with a quiet equator, a line that cuts the night into halves, then passes and passes again, and you settle into a rhythm that resembles a distant, cosmic heartbeat. The galaxy's spin is a patient answer to a stubborn question: how can so much mass move together so gracefully without breaking apart? The answer is not loud. It is a whisper of trust, a trust you are invited to borrow for a while. Let your thoughts, like the stars, orbit softly around your attention, never colliding, always returning to the center of you. Now breathe through the velvet dusk and imagine drifting into a memory of a nebula. Not a memory you must recall with exact detail, but a mini-story carried on the wind of space. A pink and silver cloud, delicate as the brush of a brush against silk, where dust and gas mingle and wait. It is a nursery of quiet possibility. Within such a cloud, gravity compacts material into new suns, giving shape to dreams, though dreams here are not awake, but asleep, softly luminous in the dark. As you float, think of it as a cradle for potential itself. The nebulae are star-forming factories, sweet and still, bathed in the faint glow of newborn suns. You need not fear the vastness. It is a room with a high ceiling, painted in dark blue and dotted with patient lights. The scent you could imagine, if scent could exist in space, would be nothing sharp, nothing overwhelming, but a dry mineral calm like rain-washed stone after a long drought. Let your body settle deeper as we move toward a second, gentler truth. Galaxies are not empty halls of stars, but crowded neighborhoods where stars live in crowded, careful companionship. The spiral arms are not only paths of motion, they are density waves, patterns of crowding that explain why so many stars seem to rise together in bright lines. You may think you hear the wind through the arms, a soft rustling that reminds you of leaves in a quiet forest. In truth, what you hear is gravity's slow pull, the way mass organizes itself, the way order can bloom from chaos when time is allowed to stretch. You are invited to feel this order as a kind of rhythm you can drift within. The cadence is not coercive. It is a lullaby of structure and scale, a reminder that even in the boundless sea of space, there are tunes that guide the wayward currents into a gentle harbor. If you press your awareness toward the center of the galaxy, you might notice something that winks in and out of view, a light, a point of focus, a sort of anchor in the dark. In many galaxies, at the heart lies a supermassive black hole, a gravity well so vast that it bends light and time in the gentlest of ways. Do not fear the idea of something so immense being so still. In the quiet you are listening for here, that black hole represents a balance, a release of energy in quiet bursts, a gravity that keeps the whole around it from drifting away. You are not entering danger, you are entering a trust lesson. The center of gravity does not snuff out light, it tends to draw it inward, and in that inwardness there is a strange, deep calm. So take a moment to imagine the core as a patient anchor, a still point in the turning world, holding the galaxy together with a whisper rather than a shout. Let us drift toward a fundamental truth about growth and gravity that you may carry like a soft blanket. Galaxies grow by gathering mass across vast stretches of space. They pull in material from their surroundings, they merge with neighbors, they share their dreams as if neighboring rooms in the same house whispered to one another. This is a gentle, quiet, nevertheless powerful process. When two galaxies graze each other and eventually join, their stars do not collide with the force of a battle. Instead, they mostly pass by, like ships that cross in a fog and then settle into a richer, more luminous ocean. It is a reminder that size can come from closeness, that the act of coming together can create something more beautiful and more patient than the solitary path. You are invited to feel the same in your own life. When different threads of your day brush one another, a broader, calmer tapestry can emerge, more intricate and more forgiving than any single thread could provide alone. Characters from your inner theater drift by in small, luminous vignettes. A tiny comet arcs across a pale, morning sky of starlight. A cluster of young stars forms a chorus of soft yellow light. A cloud of gas glows with the memory of a distant supernova, a spark of life that once burned for millions of years and now glows only as a distant echo. These micro-stories are not meant to overwhelm you. They are offered as tiny, safe figures to accompany your breathing. Inhale the image of a comet, gliding with contrived faith through a quiet cosmos. Exhale and let its trail dissolve into the blue-black, like chalk on slate. Each vignette is a thread in a larger tapestry, a reminder that the universe is full of small acts, small lights, small collapses, small pressures that yield to calm. We carry a few simple facts tucked into the soft seams of this narrative, not as proofs, but as gentle guides for your mind to settle around as you float. Fact 1. Galaxies spin because angular momentum, an echo from the universe's earliest days, persists across unimaginable distances and millions of years. The spin is not a thing you force. It is a thing you ride, like a current that carries you towards sleep rather than toward any particular destination. Fact 2. Nebulae are not empty. They are rich with cold gas and dust, the raw materials from which stars are born, like seeds sleeping in a dark soil until the rain arrives. Fact 3. At the very core of many galaxies sits a supermassive black hole, a gravitational anchor that does not threaten your peace, but rather keeps the celestial neighborhood from drifting apart when the night has stretched too far. Fact 4. Galaxies grow by accretion and by mergers, a collective, patient process that stretches time and space into something larger and wiser. Fact 5. Star formation often travels along the spiral arms, where density and energy align briefly to light a new candle in the cosmos. Fact 6. The light you see from distant galaxies began its journey long before you were conceived, traveling across billions of years to reach your eyes, a reminder that the past visits us with the gentlest of hands when we are ready to listen. If you crave a doorway into another sense of time, imagine that the night is a long windowpane through which light travels ever so slowly. A galaxy we now observe might have existed many millions or billions of years in the past when its light began its voyage to you. You are listening to the universe's memory, and your breath is the slow, careful punctuation that keeps the memory from slipping away. In this moment, you and the galaxies share a quiet pact. You do not demand understanding, you simply allow the patterns to fold into your inner space. Light from the edge of the observable universe travels so long to reach you that you are not just hearing the present. You are hearing echoes of the past. It is a tale told at a gentle tempo, a reminder that even the grandest systems are made of patient, ordinary moments, moments like a whisper, like a breath, like a lullaby that never truly ends. Now, as the night deepens, you may notice a particular cadence in your own body aligning with the universe's slow music. Your shoulders soften, your jaw releases its grip, your fingertips become just a whisper of sensation, barely touching, barely existing, yet fully present. you are not alone in this quiet. You share it with the stars that blink in patient rhythm, with the dust that wanders through the void, with the dark spaces between the luminous beads of light. There is a sense of residence in the night, a place where you can be held by a bigger story without losing your own. In that space, you have permission to dissolve into stillness, into a softer version of yourself, into a float that is less about escape and more about becoming lighter, more buoyant, more truly present. Consider a tiny scene within one galaxy, a newborn star, not a flame so bright that it crowds the room, but a patient spark that radiates in faint, steady pink and blue, a glow that seems to be listening as it grows. The disk around it, composed of gas and dust, spirals inward, feeding the young flame in quiet, safe arcs. If you could hover above, you would not hurry the process. You would watch as a slow, inexorable process of maturation unfolds, a reminder that growth does not need to be dramatic to be meaningful. You could spend a long moment listening to the star's accretion disk, a soft rustle of particles colliding and coalescing, a minute chorus of microdramas that compose a larger saga. In your own sleep, you are a similar participant, a patient observer watching small changes accumulate into a gentle, lasting ease. Another vignette slides by, two galaxies in the throes of a slow embrace, not a collision of sparks, but a merging of dreams. Their outer edges brush like hands touched too lightly to cause fear. Their halos blend like the softest watercolor wash, and inside, new circles of light begin to glow where once there was only shadow. The process is long and unhurried. The stars do not flee in alarm, but settle into new patterns of orbit, new songs for the night. You can perceive this as a guide to your own mind. When two thoughts come close, rather than clashing, they can melt a little into one another, finding a calmer shape that suits your sleep better. The night teaches you to allow, to yield to the flow, to drift instead of resist. And so you become a quiet constellation in your own living room, a patient diagram of rest. We have traveled through the sense of scale, from the broad arc of a spiral galaxy to the intimate touch of a single dust mote in a nebula. The universe does not rush. It coaxes its wonders into being with a gentleness that resembles your own breathing when it settles into sleep. The next small, real truth to tuck in like a soft pillow under your head. Your brain is busy, in the background, sorting signals and memories in slow, careful ways. This is not a disorder of wakefulness, but a form of celestial housekeeping, a nightly ritual that mirrors the way galaxies rearrange their mass and energy into calmer, more stable configurations. Your thoughts do not need to be quiet to be safe. They need to be willing to soften. And as you soften, you may notice a lightness, a rising buoyancy in your torso, a sense that gravity's grip is loosening just enough to let you drift without fear. Let us linger on a memory you can safely borrow from the larger cosmos. The idea that the universe is filled with patterns that repeat at different scales. The same principle that organizes star clusters within a spiral arm also organizes the galaxies within clusters, and clusters within the web that stitches the cosmos into a grand fabric. This is not a harsh paradox. It is a comforting symmetry. It tells you that your own life can reverberate with a similar rhythm. Moments of intense sparkle followed by long, quiet intervals, periods of motion that gradually become more spacious, more forgiving. If you breathe in a little longer on the next inhale, your body can absorb a touch more of that cosmic symmetry, and when you breathe out, you release a portion of the day's tension with a sigh that sounds almost like stardust dissolving into night. In the last broad sweep of this nocturnal science, you are reminded of the simple act of letting your gaze rest on the unknown and letting the unknown reveal its gentleness. The galaxies do not demand your attention with bright alarms. They invite you to join them in a stillness that is already here, to become a quiet observer and a patient participant at once. You are not a distant observer of cosmic events. You are a participant in a shared state of hush. When you lie on your back or when you curl into your pillow, your body becomes a small, contained cosmos, a pocket of space where time slows and breath becomes the only clock you listen to. The nebulae doze between sparks, and you do likewise. You surrender a little more, you drift a little deeper, you dissolve into the soft edge of a dream that is both old and ever new. Close your eyes and listen to the hush of the night sky softening into your breath. The silk of orbits stretches above you, a velvet skein threaded with glittering threads that ripple with every gentle exhale. You are here in the space between stars, where distance loosens its grip and time settles into a slow, sleepy rhythm. Tonight, the galaxies drift not as distant spectacles, but as intimate partners in a quiet ballet, their spins a whisper against the dark. You may feel the world dissolve at the edges as you become part of a larger, calmer current. The current of the universe breathing in softly through your chest and out again into the vast, starkest silence. If you allow it, the scene reveals itself as a tapestry of motion rather than a map of objects. A galaxy is not a rigid wheel turning in place. It is a living swirl, a cosmic whirlpool where threads of light are stretched into spirals and the glow of countless suns rides along those threads like beads on a necklace of night. You may notice the first thread of truth tucked into the hush, the way galaxies spin. It begins with a quiet principle, a conservation that feels almost like a promise. In the earliest days of a cloud of gas and dust, as gravity gathers and the material collapses inward, angular momentum, like a shy, stubborn ember, persists. It is as if the universe says, when you gather, you must rotate. The cloud, pulled inward by gravity, inevitably learns to spin. And as it spins, the density of material rearranges itself into a disk, a broad, flattened stage on which stars will be invited to appear. You can breathe with that momentum, letting your own exhale catch the same gentle cadence as the galaxy's rotation. Now, listen to the velvet night and feel the weight of the idea settle across your shoulders like a soft shawl. The rotation curve of a galaxy, that familiar outline of speed versus radius, tells a story that is both simple and mysterious. The inner regions of a galaxy spin a little faster. The outer parts carry a steady, stubborn pace that doesn't fall away with distance. In a quiet whisper, the cosmos offers you a fact. Beyond the bright, visible disk, there is a halo, a vast cloak of unseen mass that stretches far beyond the glow of stars. This halo, we learn, is not empty. It is dark matter, a kind of gravitational hand that holds the whole structure together. You are not asked to understand the math of it tonight, only to feel the sense of steady, invisible support that lets the outer stars drift and glide rather than fall apart. The halo's gravity is a patient, unseen current that keeps the spinning system whole, even as the light from those distant stars stretches thinner and thinner into the velvet. As you drift deeper into this contemplative quiet, you may notice a second thread weaving through the scene, the spiral arms. They are not rigid stripes carved into a cosmic wheel. They are waves of density, patterns of compression that travel through the disk with a quiet, creaking grace. Stars themselves orbit the center in near-circular paths, like bicycles coasting along a river's bend, but the arms are the ripples guiding those journeys. In your moment of listening, you hear the sense of invitation in the arms. They light up as new stars are born along their lengths. They glow with the combined light of young suns, and the gas and dust between the stars gather and compress in a choreography that invites life to begin again. You may tilt your head toward the glow and sense how a spiral arm is a kind of cosmic melody, a wave of star formation that travels across the disk, turning quiet gas into brilliant newborn suns that brighten the night with a gentle, uncertain promise. To settle your mind onto another thread, breathe toward the knowledge that the disk is more than a collection of stars. It is a complex ecosystem, gas and dust drifting through the spiral lanes, clouds that cradle the seeds of future stars, and fields of magnetism that guide gas flows along delicate routes. Magnetic fields thread the galaxy like invisible cords, sometimes aligned with arms, sometimes curling around them, shaping how gas moves and where stars will form. You may feel those magnetic threads as a subtle tug on your own breath, a faint pull that keeps your thoughts moving in a calm, organized manner instead of scattering in every direction. The idea is not to command a storm of facts, but to invite a gentle alignment, a sense that even unseen forces can guide without breaking the stillness you seek. Consider now the day-to-day physics, quiet as snowfall on a winter night. The disk you imagine is a swirl of millions of stars, but the mind can savor a few concrete truths without becoming distracted by complexity. First, the stars in a spiral galaxy follow roughly circular orbits around the center, though not perfectly circular and not perfectly synchronous. The gravitational pull of the mass inside the orbit, combined with the angular momentum carried from the past, keeps each star in a steady path. The second truth waits at the edge of vision. The visible disk is only a part of the galaxy. There lies beyond it a vast, invisible expanse, dark matter halos that can extend many times the size of the luminous portion and hold the gravitational balance of the system. Third, the spiral arms themselves arise from waves of density sweeping through the disk. They are patterns rather than rigid structures, guiding gas into compression and setting the stage for star formation to emerge along their crests. And fourth, magnetic fields, though subtle, shape how gas streams flow, helping to organize the interstellar medium in a way that can influence when and where stars are born. You can rest with these truths and let them dissolve into your own breath, as if the cosmos were teaching you a small, careful patience. As your eyelids grow heavier, you begin to glimpse a series of micro-stories that unfold within the grand design. Picture a small, quiet traveler, a dwarf galaxy, a gentle partner in the vast halo, wandering the outskirts with a shy glow. Its stars drift in a slow, graceful orbit, their light falling like a whisper onto a darkened canvas. In your mind, you follow a single thread, the thread of time, through the dwarf's slow dance with a bigger neighbor. The encounter is not loud. It is a soft, tidal tug, a tender rearrangement of stars and gas that reshapes the dancer without breaking the dance's calm. You may hear the shy murmur of far-off stars as they shift their positions, a whisper of history that tells you galaxies are not timeless, but they are patient. The universe is generous with its changes, allowing forms to drift into new arrangements only as fast as the light that carries their memory can travel. Now imagine a cluster of gas clouds, ethereal and pale, in the inner disk where the light is brightest. These clouds are cradles of future suns, nurseries where gravity's pull and thermal pressure, in a delicate balance, decide whether a cloud will collapse into stars or drift apart to rest again. In this sleep, you could say that the cosmos offers permission. You may drift toward your own inner nurseries of ideas and let them coalesce into something gentle, something that will not burn brighter than your own calm. The process of star formation is a patient one. It requires cooling, settling, and a moment when gravity finally wins over random motion, allowing a dense pocket to tighten and ignite. You may picture a luminous seed formed in the quiet, a single spark that becomes a constellation of light as it becomes more deeply part of the spiral's living thread. Let us dwell for a little while on the sensory invitation of light. The starlight that reaches your eyes is a messenger of a long journey. Some photons have traveled across thousands of years to touch your skin and eyes at this moment of stillness. The exact color you might imagine for the light is not a single shade, but a spectrum, glows of blue-white from hot, young stars, the warmer, gold-tinted amber of aging suns, the faint lavender of ionized gas in star-forming regions. Each photon carries with it a moment in cosmic time, a memory of a birth or a quiet last breath. When you close your eyes and visualize these photons brushing your face, you can feel a soft, persistent warmth, an inward glow that complements the outward chill of the night. The sensorial invitation is simple. Let the light brush you and then dissolve into your breath, so that the memory of the light remains, but your body grows heavier in a way that signals sleep. The universe, in its calm, gives you permission to imagine a journey along a spiral arm, as if you were a tiny, intrepid traveler aboard a spacecraft designed for stillness. You glide along a luminous crest where stars, dust, and gas share the same surface, and you notice that time here is forgiving. The path you follow is curved, not straight. Your mind learns to travel in rounded angles, tracing the arm's curvature with a soft, attentive gaze. You pass by bright star-forming regions, where clusters glow with the promise of years, millions of years. Yet you remain in the present moment, listening to the rhythm of your own breathing, in, out, in, out. The path you take is less a race and more a dance of attention, and the galaxy supports you with a gentle gravitational whisper that keeps you close to the center of calm. If you permit, you may slow further and listen to a quiet, almost inaudible rhythm that underpins all of this motion. In the vacuum of space, there is no sound as we know it, yet there is a perceptible tempo in the way stars orbit and gas tides ripple through the disk. The tempo is a hush, a slow, patient cadence that mirrors your own heartbeat when you are on the cusp of sleep. The cosmic tempo is what makes the silk of orbits feel so intimate. It is not loud, but it is persistent. You may realize that to drift with this tempo is to align yourself with a natural order that does not hurry, that does not demand climax, but simply allows you to settle into a more spacious state of rest. As you drift, a fourth fact to cradle gently in your thoughts arrives in the form of a story about a larger, unseen patient, dark matter. It is not something to fear, but something to respect, the scaffolding that holds luminous structures up and gives them the shape of stability. You may picture the dark matter halo as a vast, clear cinema screen behind the visible parts of the galaxy, catching the glow of stars and reminding you that what you cannot see can still support what you can. The halo's gravity is a focus, a steady hand that keeps the swirling disk from dispersing. The screen remains dark, and yet its influence is everywhere, shaping how fast things move and where they gather. You do not need to know its makeup to sense its presence. You can feel the assurance of an unseen, constant push that makes the seen world possible. And then there is a fifth thread, soft, luminous, almost tender, that you can cradle in your palms like a strand of silk being slowly unwound. The interplay of gas chemistry and star formation. In the arms and along the disk, the gas cools, condenses, and becomes dense enough to spark nuclear fusion in newborn stars. The cycle repeats in a perpetual lullaby. Gas collects, gravity intensifies the compression, a star is born, light shows briefly in the cradle of a nebula, and the newborn star's radiation begins to reshape the surrounding material. A gentle feedback that can either soothe or stir future generations of stars. You may let this cycle breathe around you, a quiet reminder that birth and quiet endings are woven together in a single, endless seam of time. Let us circle back to a few core sensations you can carry through the upcoming hours. First, the touch of distance. You are held by the dark, but the dark is not empty. It is filled with the soft murmurs of the galaxies you are imagining. The distance is a kind of cushion. It cushions your thoughts as they rise and fall, like a small wave on a calm sea that never quite breaks. Second, the touch of light. Even in sleep, light lingers in your memory, a warm halo that lights the edges of your eyelids and the rim of your breathing. Third, the touch of time. Time moves slowly here, a patient clock that ticks in the margin between sleep and wakefulness, a good friend who never rushes you, who offers you a gentle hand as you sink deeper. Fourth, the touch of motion. The silk of orbits continues to weave, not to wake you, but to cradle you so that your body can follow the rhythm of the universe into a deeper rest. Now, in this chamber of velvet quiet, you may remind yourself of boundaries that protect the soft boundaries of sleep. You may say to yourself, quietly, I am allowed to drift, I am allowed to release today, I am permitted to dissolve into stillness. You may repeat these words as you would repeat a lullaby, letting them sink into your chest. The sleep that follows is not surrender to oblivion, but surrender to a larger, more generous order, the order by which the galaxy spins and by which your breaths align with its patient pace. The practice of permission here is a custom of vigilance that says, you belong to this moment, you belong to the quiet, you belong to the stars, and you are safe in their vast, tender company. And now a gentle reminder in the language of science, offered not as doctrine, but as a companion. Galaxies are not static monuments. They are living stories, always changing shape, sometimes merging with others, sometimes birthing 10,000 stars along a single spiral arm. They are grand but intimate, ancient and new at once, a paradox that invites you to rest in your own paradox. the mind that can hold both stillness and thought without forcing an end to either. You may pause and consider the idea that the very act of looking, the act of observing the night, shapes what you see. In the same way, your attention shapes your sleep, turning the ordinary night into a stage where the cosmos and your inner weather co-create a softer, safer silence. The silk of orbits continues to weave, thread by thread, through the ceiling of your room and through the corridor of your breath. You are not merely listening to a story about galaxies, you are feeling a kind of kinship with them. You spin inside your own orbit, a personal belt of gravity that draws in your concerns, tugs them close, drifts them toward the periphery, and lets them dissolve into the calm that surrounds you. If a thought arises that seems urgent or restless, you may treat it as a satellite slipping along a planned path, a tiny traveler whose journey you observe with kindness and then let drift away. The space around you is patient. The space within you is patient. The space above you, the velvet sky, offers you permission to drift until you become part of the night's soft hum. In this quiet practice, you may choose to linger on a few additional soft truths. The disk of a galaxy, though bright with young stars, carries the fingerprints of billions of years of change. The spiral arms are not merely bright lines, they are meeting grounds for matter and energy, a stage in which gas collapses and new stars ignite, and then feed back into the cycle, dissolving old structures while lighting new ones. The dark matter halo, though unseen, is not a mere backdrop. It is a scaffold that supports the entire distribution of material, guiding orbits, and stabilizing the grand design. Magnetic fields, too subtle to grasp in a single glance, weave through the interstellar gas, shaping flows and perhaps steering the very cadence of star formation. You can feel these phenomena as a symphony, one that does not overwhelm your senses, but offers a steady, harmonious cadence to lull you toward deeper sleep. In your mind's eye, you may also conjure the idea of companionship among galaxies. They are not solitary travelers. They interact, exchange material, exchange light, and occasionally even pull one another into a shared gravitational dance that can last for billions of years. But in this moment, you and your breath are the only two travelers in your personal universe. You are safe here, supported by the gentle gravity of the room you inhabit and the even gentler gravity of the night. You can let your worries drift away as easily as dust in a beam of cosmic light. If a worry arises, consider it a small meteor, briefly bright against the dark afterglow of your thoughts, and watch it pass with the same tranquil pace as the stars that trace their circles overhead. Before the lights of your room re-emerge, you may choose a last, comforting image. Imagine a telescope perched on a quiet hillside, trained on a single galaxy where the spiral arms glow like curling silver threads across a dark stage. The observer inside you, quiet, patient, watches as stars drift through the arms, and the galaxy continues to rotate with grace that seems almost ceremonial. The observer is you, and the galaxy is your companion. Each moment of perception becomes a lullaby, each breath a quiet note in the song of the night. You are listening not to a loud lecture, but to a soft, ongoing sermon of stillness, a reminder that knowledge can comfort when it is delivered with tenderness and restraint. So now, with the silk of orbits wrapping you in its velvet corridors, you may let go of another layer of effort. The sleep you are seeking is not a conquest, but a return, a gentle arriving at a place that has always welcomed you, the space between thoughts, the space between breaths, the space where a galaxy spins without force and you drift without struggle. If you would like to continue this journey, you may simply keep breathing with the night, keep listening with your body, and keep sensing the ancient, patient wisdom of the universe. Its quiet arithmetic of motion, its slow, patient creation, its enveloping calm. You are held here, you are safe here, you are a small part of something infinitely larger, and that is a soothing truth. May you drift into sleep with the same soft certainty that guides a planet along its orbit. Not hurried, not resisted, but allowed to follow its natural path, with gravity as its constant, invisible friend. May your dreams be light and long, woven from the silky threads of cosmic memory and the gentle weather of your own breath. And when morning comes, you may greet it with gratitude, having rested enough to carry the memory of this velvet night into a new day, rested enough to begin again with a still, hopeful heart, as galaxies continue to spin in their quiet, endless grace, and you too continue your own orbit around the sun of your life, secure in the knowledge that you are loved, you are held, and you are safe in the endless, luminous lullaby of the universe. Close your eyes and lean into the hush of the corridor between day and night, where the softest equations drift like moths toward a lamp that never warms. Tonight the lamps are distant suns, the room is a cloister of quiet, and you are invited to meet the equations at dusk, to listen as they waver on the edge of your breath and fold themselves into the gentle geometry of sleep. You may imagine you hold a sliver of chalk, pale and trembling, and with each exhale you draw a circle in the air, a slow, patient ellipse that remembers how the universe chooses to spin. The page before you is not paper, but the velvet dark, and the chalk is nothing but your thinning thoughts, dissolving as they touch the night. Equations begin, not with a shout, but with a whisper, a sequence of soft marks that settle into the mind like pebbles in a pool. You are not merely watching. You are part of the experiment, a patient participant in a cosmic rehearsal where every number nods toward you and then eyes the horizon again. Do you hear the delicate tick of the clock on your wrist, the minute hand coaxing the sky to listen? Well, what if that steady tick is the same rhythm that set galaxies into their slow spin long before the sun learned to glow? The idea slides through the room, a silver thread that ties your breath to a distant spiral. First, there is a kind of birth narrative, a gentle origin story about why things rotate at all. You might picture a vast cloud of gas and dark matter, a tidal waltz of gravity and momentum that stretches and pulls long after the first dawn of time. The early universe didn't decide to spin with a single, crisp rotation. No, it learned to acquire angular momentum by the sway of partners, by the way neighboring proto-galaxies tugged at each other's edges and left a curl in the fabric of space. The result is a galaxy that inherits a swirl, not as a clenched fist, but as a held breath that expands, then rests, then expands again. This is a fact tucked into the quiet, a quiet fact. Galaxies spin because they inherit their motion from the cradle of the cosmos, a sort of cosmic lullaby carried in the weight of space itself. And as you listen, you notice how your chest settles too, as if your own rhythm agrees with the universe's gentle talk. Second, a larger, calmer fact glides into the room like a soft breeze across a lake. You are aware that the stars you cannot see here still obey a certain truth. The outer reaches of many galaxies rotate with nearly the same speed as the region closer to the center. It is almost as if the edge of the disk does not slow down the farther away you go, which would seem to contradict common expectation if you imagined gravity to be a simple, diminishing force with distance. The truth we perceive from our quiet vantage is that many galaxies exhibit flat rotation curves. Stars far from the center revolve as swiftly as those near the middle. And what makes this possible, most of all, is something you cannot directly see with the naked eye in the dark room, a form of invisible matter that we call dark matter. It is not a demon in the drawer, but a substantial, silent presence, a hands-in-the-air reminder that not all matter reveals itself as light. This is a fact that threads itself into the night like a silver wire, connecting your breath to the breath of a distant spiral. If you let the next question drift into your mind, you can hear a whisper. How do such curves persist? The answer, in the simplest cadence, is that gravity binds what it can, and the halo of dark matter provides the extra gravity needed to keep the dance in step. It is not a loud answer, but a patient one, saying that the cosmos often works with what it does not always show. It invites you to inhale a little deeper and to feel the space between the notes as the number of the night expands like a sigh. You breathe in, you breathe out, and the rotation rests in the way a pendulum settles at the end of a soft swing, the same way your thoughts settle into the horizon of sleep. Another gentle correction to your sense of sight is a reminder that spiral arms, those luminous, lacing patterns that seem to cradle the stars, are not rigid ribbons but living waves. They are density waves, not strictly the stubborn shape of a fixed object, but the synchronized creasing of gas and stars as they drift through the disk. Picture the arms as a river of stars, not a fence they must cling to, but a current in which stars pass, sometimes catching a glimmer of bright newborn stars and other times dissolving into the dark as they age. The arms ripple because the galaxy is a grand orchestra, and the conducting baton is the gravity field that holds the whole ensemble together. The stage directions are not absolute. They are fluid, unfolding slowly as if to emphasize the lyric of motion rather than the mechanics of it. You might hear at a distance the soft percussion of a pattern, stars racing along in their orbits, a few of them catching up with the crest of a wave and lighting up a few birth lines of star formation. A third, almost unremarkable sentence carries a notable implication. Many galaxies harbor supermassive black holes at their centers, huge, calm wells of gravity that anchor their galaxies much as a deep, still core anchors a spinning top. In our own Milky Way, the center hosts a black hole named Sagittarius (*), an object so massive that its presence sculpts the orbits of stars round the center in a way that, if you could observe it up close, would feel like a cosmic heartbeat kept in silence. The black hole does not roar, it watches. It sits at the heart of the galaxy and invites the rest of the system to pace itself around a gravity so constant that even light must bend to keep company with it. It is another quiet fact we hold with reverence. These colossal engines seem to whisper to the surrounding stars, move with grace, move in patience, move with the universe's own timing. And you, listening now, can feel the same invitation to move with grace, to settle, to drift, to dissolve into the night. To our sense of time, there is a just as important, almost poetic truth about birth and growth of stars within these swirling arms. The gas that lies within spiral arms is cooler and denser than surrounding space, and when conditions align together, a cloud of hydrogen, a pinch of heavier elements, a spark of gravity, the cloud collapses and gives birth to new stars. The birth process is not a shout but a whisper. It glows faintly in nebular regions, the celestial nurseries. The pattern of star formation plays a role in the appearance of the arms themselves. The young, bright stars illuminate the gas and highlight the spiral choreography, which in turn guides new generations of stars along the arm's path. It is a quiet choreography of life and light, a reminder that even in the vastness, there is room for the smallest, most intimate acts of creation to be performed with gentleness, with care, with a patient wind that never hurry. A natural pause comes, a slow exhale that softens the spine and quiets the mind. If you listen, you can hear a gentle resonance in the distance, not a sound you could hear with ears, but a frequency you feel in the bones of your chest, the same frequency that hums in a galaxy's dark matter halo, in the invisible scaffolding that sustains the spiral. The subtlety of this knowledge lies in its restraint. A fact is a beacon only when it remains quiet enough to listen for the rest of the night. And here are 4 to 6 such gentle truths folded into the narrative without fanfare, so you can carry them into sleep without clamor. Galaxies spin because they inherit angular momentum from their birth in the cosmic web. The spin is a memory etched into the fabric of space that persists as long as nothing stops it, and even when gravity rearranges matter, the memory finds a new form of movement in the spiral shape. Many galaxies show flat rotation curves, stars at the edge of the disk orbit nearly as fast as those near the center, implying there is unseen mass, dark matter, extending beyond what light reveals. The invisible helper holds the galaxy together, gently, like an anchor in the weave of night. Spiral arms are density waves, not rigid rails. Stars drift into and through them, the arms acting like a cosmic rhythm that can lead to bursts of star formation, where gas becomes dense enough to spark new suns. Supermassive black holes anchor the centers of most galaxies, including our Milky Way's Sagittarius asterisk. They are not violent engines, but patient centers, deep wells that help sculpt the outer dance by their quiet gravity. Star formation clusters in spiral arms because the gas there is cooler and denser, nudged into collapse by gravity and turbulence, a slow fire that lights a million suns in patient response to the cosmos's lullaby. Galaxies are not solitary beings, but neighbors who sometimes whisper to each other across the void. When galaxies meet, their gravitational embrace can tilt or twirl them, spin them faster, slow them, or rearrange their disks. A near collision can trigger starbursts, a momentary crescendo in the long, gracious symphony of a galaxy's life. The night's quiet is a friend to observation. The universe's grand narratives are often written in gravity's language, in the way space stretches and time stretches, guiding you toward a gentler, slower kind of understanding. As you float with these ideas, a few more scenes rise from the horizon like soft, distant dunes. Imagine a creaking old watchtower above a quiet harbor, its hands moving with a cadence you can almost hear in the rustle of sails. The towers speak to you in the same way the cosmos speaks to the galaxies, not by shouting, but with a steady, patient pulse. The harbor is a standing metaphor for the galaxy, a place where everything is held in orbit, where every boat, every light, every sigh of the wind has its own path, its own period, its own time to glide into sleep. Consider, for a moment, a small human-scale analogy to help your mind follow these big, forgiving truths. Think of a merry-go-round in a moonlit park. The horses go around because someone behind sees to the motion, and the ride seems to keep its pace even as the ground shifts under our feet. If your eyes close just a little tighter, you might hear the soft clack of hinges and wheels, the subtle percussion that makes the ride feel like a gentle drumbeat of the night. The merry-go-round spins, and so does the galaxy. The axis is quiet, the wheel is patient, and the air between horses carries the memory of every stride. You are the center of your own small galaxy tonight, and your thoughts, like stars, drift at different radii, but share the same exquisite gravity that tethers you to this moment of sleep. Pause again. The question lingers, a small, thoughtful hinge. What does it mean to know the universe at this level of calm, to witness something so vast through the soft glass of a night that asks nothing of you but your breath? The answer, if there is one to offer, lies in the permission we give ourselves to drift. Permission to let the mind explore ideas without forcing conclusions, to let the heart rest a while in the weight of the unknown, and then release it with a sigh. You are allowed to be curious and restful at the same time. You are allowed to hold complexity and simplicity in the same palm as you drift deeper. Another sensory invitation. Breathe in and picture the dust that fills the spaces between stars as a fine, glittering mist, the way sunlight rains through a cold morning fog. This dust, mixed with gas in spiral arms, becomes the cradle for new stars. When you breathe out, imagine the dust settling into a calm, even layer upon the surface of the night, smoothing the edges of your thoughts, allowing your worries to dissolve like sugar in warm tea. Your body loosens, your jaw unclenches, your shoulders drop away from your ears. The world feels more porous, more forgiving, more at peace with the idea that you are part of a grand system that moves with quiet grace. Now, as if listening to the very last notes of a lullaby, you begin to sense a soft overlap of scales, the micro and the macro, the intimate and the cosmic, coexisting without collision. You are both small and significant in this cosmos, a single breathing node within a network of luminous threads. Your breath matches the pace of a gentle, invisible rotation, your thoughts slow to match the gravity of the night. Your senses quiet into a velvet, undisturbed field where the mind can wander, rest, and finally settle. Let me return to the structure of your evening as you near the crest of sleep. The page you imagined earlier, the chalk that drew circles and ellipses, remains, but the chalk has become the air, and every circle has become a breath you take. The equations you carried inside your mind are not barriers, they are doorways. They invite you to cross from the bustling day into a realm where numbers bend into curves, and the curves cradle your eyelids in a gentle cradle of ease. The cosmos does not demand your full attention as if you were a student awakening something to prove. It invites you to listen as if the universe is telling you a story that is best heard in a softened room, a room with a window open to allow the night in. If you awaken again in the middle of the night, you may carry these ideas with you as if they are a small star tucked behind your ear. The galaxy spins, not with panic, but with a patient, timeless motion. It remains in motion because it is carried on by the continued whispers of gravity, by the memory of how space itself can twist and bend without breaking. The outer regions hold onto their velocity in quiet defiance of a simple, linear expectation, reminding us that there is more than one way to be in motion. The center holds a quiet, immense force, reminding us that strength can be both large and still, a willingness to keep the center of gravity intact while the universe laughs softly at the fragility of a single moment. Now, as the night deepens and your body grows heavier with sleep, let your thoughts become fewer and your breath more expansive. The night itself will tell you the rest of the story in its own language, soft, slow, and inexorable. You do not need to chase every idea. You only need to be with the feeling of the idea, to let it orbit your attention as you would orbit a shore you have longed to reach. The stars, those patient navigators of time, continue their slow work. They do not rush toward dawn. They wait with you in the span where a dream begins to be born and a new world arises from rest. And when at last you slip wholly into sleep, may your dreams be a maintenance of peace, a gentle recalibration of your inner compass toward the center of quiet. May you drift, settle, and dissolve into a landscape where the equations are not fearsome but friendly, where every symbol is a signpost pointing toward a longer, softer night. In this realm, galaxies glow with a kindness born of distance and stillness. There spins a metronome for your own breathing. You are part of their story tonight, a tiny but essential note in a universal lullaby, a witness to the slow, deliberate craft of a cosmos that knows how to rest as well as it knows how to move. Rest now in the warm hush that follows a long night of listening. Let the mind fall through the layers of space and time, the way a pebble sinks through a pond, each ring widening, with the comfort of being held by something larger and gentler than you can name. The night has no demand but your ease. The stars have nothing to prove and everything to remind you that you belong to a universe that drifts, whispers, and finally lies down beside you in sleep. Drift, float, settle, dissolve. That is the cadence, the quiet promise, the soft science of dreams. And as you let go, you become a quiet part of the night's great equation, an element essential to the calm balance of the cosmos and the restful, healing sleep you deserve.